Dunbarton Board of Selectmen meeting to order. We have the police chief present here tonight, our new fire chief present here tonight, and, our town clerk is present as well as members from the public. I'm gonna open up to old business. Also, there are 3 selectmen are present and the town administrator. Old business for the meeting minutes, guys.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of January 9th, 2025.
I'll second that motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Further make a motion to approve the non-public minutes of January 9th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded, any discussion? Okay, there's a mistake right here, but I'm just gonna cross out. This is an old one they had, just chairman.
Okay,
These do not need to be sealed.
call the vote.
Motion been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
As amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of January 23rd, 2025.
I'll second those.
Those were amended, Dave, you just found those changes in the office.
Yeah, there were a couple small changes in here, we amended them, so. Motion been made and seconded, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright. And, the last one, Mike, you.
I'll make a motion to approve the non-public minutes of January 23rd, 2025. As written.
I'll second those.
Motion been made and seconded, any discussion?
Sealed? No.
No sealing required,
Call the vote.
very general. You see our town moderator showed up
Call for vote.
to the meeting. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we have those out of the way. Anybody that's not on the agenda tonight have anything for public comment? Anything for public comment? Anybody coming in the door there? Nope.
Morning. Good evening.
Just so you guys know, I'm opening up for public comment, if anybody has anything for public comment. Okay. That being said, we have a few minutes before we open up our public hearing at 7:15. I'm gonna go into a couple of notes, that I have here for discussion. The transfer station was closed on Tuesday. I think our town office received a complaint or two about that, people calling to look for it. I'm gonna speak to that since I'm the selectman's rep on the transfer station. We had 2 people out with the flu that everybody seems to have right now. And, we had another person that didn't show up the Saturday before, we were unsure if they were gonna come in. Having 2 people there working the equipment and stuff at the transfer station, we deemed was unsafe at a prior selectmen's meeting, so we decided to close that down for the day only. They opened back up again on Wednesday. So that being said, everybody is aware of it now, and, that's what happened for that. I think we had 2 people call in to ask about it. And they did put a sign out. The 2 people that did show up, we gave them a minimum of 3 hours as we were required to do for coming into work. Okay, I wanted to bring up something else for my fellow selectmen. Cintas, our uniform company, has been going through and billing us out full bills when we have uniforms, pants, shirts, and jackets not showing back up. We've been manually writing that down, the transfer station manager, on their paperwork as they come out to us. After going through several people at Cintas to get to the bottom of it, I found out if the driver does not put it in his handheld device, even though it doesn't update there, as soon as we sign it, we basically owe for the jackets and shirts and pants that show up, even though we haven't received them in full. And, over the past years, they've been every 2 or 3 months correcting it with the transfer station manager. They no longer seem to wanna do that, so in speaking with the transfer station manager, I told him not to sign off on it until it's corrected on their handheld. So that's gonna be our new step. We paid the old bill in full, it was $10 or $15 or $12 or $9 a month over the last 4 months. We cleaned the bill up this last week here when we signed the checks, so they're in a clean slate. Woody has his marching orders, so we're gonna see how it goes from here on out.
It's been nagging, it's been a nagging issue for a while.
Yeah. So, let me see what else we have on the agenda here.
Some mailbox items if you like.
May not have to go have to hop over your mailbox. So we have an email from Mrs. Parker for Karen Road down in Gorham Pond on a tree removal. Ashland will be removing a tree. That was a tree that was in the corner of the right of way.
I think some kudos should go to the road agent for, making that happen.
Yep, again, like Mike says, the road agent did come in and make us aware of it. And, it's something he didn't, really wanna do unless the tree definitely needed to come down, because we didn't wanna start removing trees all throughout town on a request. There's also an email in here from Bob Leonard, budget request for Lake Coast annual support of $300. He wanted us to fund this through our building maintenance, which I'm not sure that's the right way to go, but he's looking for $300 from 2025. And he's looking for that to help supplement, people they have down there to watch over the invasive species coming into the lake on Gorham Pond. Did you wanna speak to that?
Sure, if you want.
That'd be great.
Yep, Bob Leonard, Road Agent. Yes, I'm the Lake Coast Coordinator, I've been doing this for almost 12 years, for the town, and, for the past couple of years, we haven't had any Lake Coast down there because, as you know, the, boat ramp has been in disrepair.
Yeah.
Now that it's been up to par and everything, I've talked to the state already, we will now reinstate the Lake Coast program, because we haven't been in the program for a couple of years. They're only gonna give me about $1,150 to hire somebody, for the summer, starting at Memorial Day weekend. We also have that fund, set aside, on the state website for the town of Dunbarton, that local residents like myself and others have donated upwards of $100 apiece to help pay for the paid Lake Coast, so that you can go to McDonald's and get $15 an hour now, and I wanna at least offer $14 an hour. We have $854 left over that continues to carry on, so you donate now, but it'll still be there in 3 years if we don't use it. The total we've got there is just under $2,000, but if you add 300 to that, I calculated it out, I can offer somebody a Saturday and Sunday, 8 hours a day on Saturday and 8 hours on Sunday, and we'll have coverage down there from Memorial Day weekend through the end of July. And then I will get volunteers from the, Gorham Pond area, or even just from the town of Dunbarton, or even have George up at the fort, and a few others that volunteer, and we'll cover it for the remainder of August and probably into early September. That way, again, for the 6th year in a row now, we have no milfoil down there, so we just wanna keep an eye on it to make sure it stays that way.
So, I'm not against what you're doing,
Right.
I'll go out front and say that. I'm not sure our building maintenance fund is the proper spot to kind of take those funds from. The only other thing I have is, it's for 2025, and our budget season for that is obviously kind of in stone, that's what we're here to finalize tonight. Do you have any other areas we could possibly take that out?
The last 6 or 7 years has come out of building maintenance, because that's kind of the larger budget that
So
we
we've taken,
cover.
what amount of money has gone?
$300.
Oh, every year we've done 300?
Yep.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
Yeah, it's been happening for several years.
Oh, okay.
So he was nice enough, I asked him to put it in writing, so that she made it clear that he had
Okay.
funding.
Well, now that you put it in writing, I'm aware of it, right?
We gotta talk more.
All right,
Okay, thank
anybody
you.
wanna look at the letter? So,
Consensus.
we have consensus from the board to, go ahead and approve that $300 for that Lake Coast. And again, all 5 of our major ponds in Dunbarton, have no milfoil on,
Correct.
which is great to have. But once it gets there, it's expensive to get it out. Okay, We also have an email from Jennifer Cornet, the town clerk, in reference to, the DES New Community Center, I wanna say it's the,
AV system.
AV system down there. Now, there's a person in Bow that has been doing the, recording when they do the school meetings, but she suggested we maybe have somebody, and Shelley also thought it'd be a good suggestion, we have a volunteer from the town to go down there, in case we need it for different meetings. I think it's a good suggestion. I'm not sure who has the time to do it. Any thoughts? Anybody wanna volunteer in the crowd?
Don't all jump at once.
Can I speak to that,
Sure you
just to
can.
clarify?
You have good 4 minutes to speak to it.
Okay. Alright, so this is Jennifer Cormier, town clerk. Shelley, I had asked her if she knew of anybody who might be recording this year. She had done it last year for the town meeting. So my particular concern is the town meeting, somebody to run the AV to record it, and then it's available later, including for minutes, because it's hard to catch all those on the fly. So
Is Shelley gonna be there on this year's town meeting?
she wasn't volunteering to do it, and it's a new AV system, which is apparently supposed to be easier, and she was suggesting somebody could go down and learn it, they could,
Obviously, we can't do it, we're gonna be busy.
right,
that
yeah,
day.
we're all,
Lean, why don't we put that on the website to see if we can find somebody, because if not, I would like to make sure that we do have a backup of that person in Bow.
right, I emailed her a week ago today, I think, before sending this email, or about the same time, inquiring, and she said she'd look into it, so I haven't heard back yet if that person is available,
The
or what
biggest
the
thing
rate
is,
is.
the town meeting minutes are so important, I'd hate to have the new person not,
If we don't get a volunteer, we could pay someone, pay someone to set it up.
yeah,
I have no problem with that, paying something similar to set up.
if we can find somebody,
We
yeah.
find someone else to do it.
So the biggest thing is, the meeting minutes for the town, meeting is very important. We have to get it to the state in a timely fashion as well. So I wanna make sure it's correct, and we don't have somebody the first time out there, doing that, so, yeah, if we can follow up on that, that would be great. We have a, capital improvements program committee. We have some updates on there that was sent out from Donna, I believe. So these are updates, for 2026. Well, I think that went out electronically lately as well. Remember reading it.
There's usually an appointment for the selectmen, so maybe after.
Yeah,
After the elections, yeah.
yeah. I've been the selectmen's rep on this, and, this CIP committee is great because everybody gets together, the department heads get together, and the needs of their different departments get updated for the next 6 years. So anything that they hope to request in there, is listed down, and then when we go through the budget, you'll see later, we'll have different amounts for different departments, and these amounts are set aside for large purchases. We've been doing real good on that. Our police cars have been funded, between their special duties and that, pretty much 100%. We've got a new fire truck that was funded through there. The ambulance was through the ambulance fund.
You'll see some warrant articles that support the CIP. And so every year we add a little bit to the CIP, programs, you might say, and it keeps a sudden spike in tax rate, so it keeps our tax rate relatively level. And that's the benefit of a CIP program, so we can program and plan for major expenses down the road.
And you'll see over the past 3 or 4 years, we've decreased some departments and increased other departments to take care of their needs for those years. And as a board, we're gonna try and level that out a little bit more, we hope to, and just look at this CIP and follow it, and hopefully have the stuff, done in advance, so we don't have to juggle certain years if we can, but, all the departments have worked together real good doing that, and, it seems to have worked out well for our board as well. It's past 7:15 now, so I'm gonna go on to our town business and open up the public hearing for the proposed budget and warrant articles for 2025. The first meeting was scheduled for last week, we had a snowstorm, so this is our snow date. Who would've known it's gonna snow again? But I think the roads were quite a bit cleaner this week than they were last week, and out of safety, we closed that meeting up
You
last
do
week.
remember you live in New Hampshire, right?
Yeah, that's right. Ron, you only get 2 comments, and that was one today.
I'll make sure I'll phrase everything else in the form of question.
All right.
There was my third comment.
All right, we're gonna start, and we're gonna go right down through, from the top down. We're first gonna start with the expenses, then we're gonna go through the revenues. Then we're gonna hit the warrant articles. We're gonna work off, we have a little bigger sheet here that's easier to read. And basically, I'm gonna try and go over the increases or decreases in the budgets. And if you guys have any questions, after I do each section, if you can just raise your hand, with no hand sticking up, I'm gonna continue on to the next section. You're gonna see 3% COLA. We've kept this budget as flat as we possibly can, so you're gonna see the majority of our budget sections will be that 3% COLA added to our town employees. So, under general government, everything there for an increase of 64.33 is the 3% COLA. Going for, elections, registrations, and vital, we have some decreases because there's less elections, and some election expenses that are increasing. One of them is our, Jennifer, you might speak to this, it's the, special voting booth that is available. We have to purchase one of those to make sure it's available for every election. And so that total budget went up $37.59. And again, there was a small amount for 3% COLA, but not much. And that's called an all-in-one voting machine. And then financial and administration,
Wait,
again.
questions?
Oh, go ahead,
A lot of questions on this section, actually.
okay, go ahead,
We have a different town clerk this year.
yeah, that's right.
That's replaced Linda, which is great, we have a new person in there. And I'm gonna ask some questions that have nothing to do with the people. How many years' experience do they have as a town clerk?
Jennifer was our deputy town clerk for the assistant, were 2 years or 3 years before?
Not quite 2 years
Not quite
before
2 years.
stepping in as town clerk in March.
Yeah.
And here's why I'm asking. The salary for the town clerk has been, is a town employee.
Yep.
So it's been eligible for the step increases over time.
No,
No.
No?
the
No.
salary's a set salary, there is no step increases.
So, in other words, when they take the position, it's an elected position. The elected position is for the amount listed in that current year's budget.
I thought I've seen in past years that there were step increases.
Not step increases since I've been here, but COLA.
There's been COLA, but there's also been step increases.
I don't know, I can't see, there's another person over there.
It's Linda.
Oh, Linda.
There is a step scale, Lee, you probably have it handy
Yeah.
for the town clerk.
Yeah.
I was at the highest step because of my length of time here. And that was, the highest step was what was presented to the voters last year for my salary.
Okay, so when they developed the step wage scale for the town employees, anyone that was in an elected position went to the top step, because anyone that would be running for that position would have to know what they were running for and know that that was their expectation if they won the election. So this board has opted to continue a COLA across the board for employees
Right.
and elected officials, but there is no step wage scale increase for.
Okay, so the step program has been discontinued.
It hasn't been discontinued, it's just one frame is inserted. Because the new anyone running against an existing elected position would need to know what that person's being paid, because they're running for that job.
So-
When I was in that position, it was my understanding that that step would have applied had I not been here as long as I had been. That's how it was presented at the time.
No, I'm not, no, I
No,
know that
you
Les,
take-
It was high last year because Jennifer and I had not worked out whether or not I would be retiring. At budget time, we hadn't worked that out yet. So, I had to budget for the highest salary because had something happened that I didn't retire, I wouldn't want to have budgeted less because by law, the town has to pay what is voted on in March.
that's right.
So she had walked into a position that was set at a high rate, but there was no way to reduce that, because that's what the town had voted on.
And likewise, she's working at that rate, she'd worked at that rate since that last election. So when the town votes on it again, it'll be at that same rate when she comes up.
The more recent board had decided that in the case of a term ending, they would meet with that elected person who could potentially be running for that position for a new term, and that they would review and assess their wages, so that this wage would stay at where it is for a period of 3 years, and include the COLA, which the board has decided on, and in the year of the re-election, then that person has to come before the board to determine whether there's a fair and equitable wage that they're earning, and if they're asking for more, because then that will be put on the new warrant for the new term, and anyone that runs for that is gonna get that, whether they're trained or not.
That's correct.
So basically, there's a step program, but there's no way to go back.
Right.
It will always stay the highest step, no matter what happens,
For elected officials.
for elected officials, okay.
If they're elected at the town meeting, with that being the dollar amount set at that meeting,
Right.
so. One thing that's different about our town, our town clerk is that they do have some benefits and from the town, and it's the same benefits a full-time employee gets. And that was done during Linda's tenure, and we've made sure as a board that we've
Continue.
included and continued all of those for them. And
Right,
we've
but-
reviewed those with Jennifer.
But as far as your point is, they wanted to know the salaries they're applying for the job. I've been hiring people for over 30 years. And I don't hire somebody into a position that a 15-year senior just left at that same salary and they've only got 2 years of experience. And when I'm hiring them, they know what their salary is going to be based on their 2 years' experience. I don't expect, they are not walking away from that saying, oh, I've only got 2 years, but I'm gonna get paid at a 15-year rate. That doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
You guys have chosen to do a different one. I said, whatever the rate is, no matter the experience, you get the same dollar amount, whether you're 2 year, or 1 year, 6 months, or a 20-year person.
yeah. Jennifer, you wanted to speak to it first?
Right, did you wanna go
I just
ahead?
have another question. You said the benefits are also, so it's a pretty highly paid position with all that. For towns our size, is that a comparable pay and package?
Our town went through a vote where they got the they got the full-time benefits.
Right,
Linda went and ran for that, asked for it on a warrant article, and they received it. So, from then on out, our town has been paying those full-time benefits. At some points in her career, certain select boards were giving her some of those full-time benefits, and not all of them. During my time, I'm going in my 9th year, I think, being a selectman. We looked into what was said at those town meetings, got the town meeting minutes. And it said that they were receiving all of the full-time benefits for full-time employee. And before boards in the past, Mike knows of it, they were giving some and not others.
You're cherry
but what about other towns
They
our
do.
size?
So other towns, I don't know if they have the full-time benefits.
Because I can see why we all voted for Linda to get them, right? Years and years of experience and a wealth of knowledge. But it does seem like very well-paid position.
I mean, it may be, other towns, Lake Goffstown, I'm sure those people are getting benefits because,
Completely different town, I wouldn't even compare.
No, but about 3 years ago, we did a across-the-board examination of all positions. And I would say, some of our positions in town, such as, I'm gonna say, the town administrator, she's at the very bottom. And to this day, I think she's still one from the bottom. We looked at about 12 towns. And the thing is, our goal at that time was to look at all salaries, and we set them with a target, with a goal to try to get it in the middle. We don't wanna be the top pair, but we don't wanna be the bottom pair. We wanted to make sure we could get qualified people to fill our positions.
Yeah.
And the only way we could do that is we did a across-the-board examination. That was about 3 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah. And
I think it was 3, but the thing is,
I was gonna say, it was
yeah, because Justin was here, so we went, we didn't bring anybody down, but the ones that needed to come up to certain levels, some came up $1,500, some came up $5,000. We tried to look at how long they've been here and how long they were for the other towns, and we took towns with the same, similar,
And some people get
Size,
no increases at all.
population.
And like, we found, like, we have 2 admin support people in 2 different departments. And the difference was sinful, as far as one was being paid grossly overpaid, one was grossly underpaid. And we brought some equity to that across all town administrative office. And then some people, we found that we were paying pretty good, and so we didn't need to, increase their pay percent. That was about 3 years ago.
Jennifer, you were elected in what year?
Last year,
Last year, so for the next 3 years, this is
the
Jennifer's,
next 2 years.
2 more years from now, is her term, and she was elected at that dollar amount with that same pay. If you wanna change any of that,
Need a warrant article.
that's right.
Right,
And
And
it's,
you know, certain towns like US, a lot of other towns don't have the benefits to go along with it,
yeah,
but the larger towns do. And, after going through this, I know the benefits add that up and it makes it a pretty lucrative job, but there is a ton of work and a ton of knowledge to that job. In fact,
I know, I remember it.
with the amount of knowledge you have to have over those years, it never stops, because it's always changing. So it's, between the elections and that, and the position, right now, we're looking for a deputy, and we've been looking, ever since Jennifer took over pretty much, and if we can't even find somebody to come in for the job.
and the challenge is, for a true deputy, it's gotta be a Dunbarton resident. We can't go outside of Dunbarton, because there are certain things that only Dunbarton residents have access to and can perform, if I've said it correctly.
We were lucky enough to have Linda stay with us part-time, after she did retire, for another, almost a year, and that really helped us. But at the same time, we didn't really have enough time to fulfill a deputy position yet, so.
And Linda's gonna miss those midnight hour, elections.
Me, 4 AM.
But we did go around and around about this a couple weeks back, just because, it was brought to our attention, and so we discussed it, but once somebody is an elected official, hired for that dollar amount,
Or elected for that dollar amount.
yeah, elected for that dollar amount. Okay, so,
May I
Okay,
speak to
Jen,
that as well?
yep.
I understand that Linda has a lot more experience as a town clerk than me, but this is a position that requires a high school education. I have 7 years of college. I have 2 bachelor's degrees, not a dual, but 2 separate degrees and a master's. And I have decades of experience in industry, which is all very relevant and very helpful for my job. I've held a security clearance, I've done tons of things with computers, I've written tons of proposals, some of them winning, led projects, done the works in software systems and other types, computer science, other types of engineering. So I think with the experience and education that I have, even though it's not all town clerk, that it's all very portable and it's not unrealistic, even if there are, in theory, 6 steps. to
And
be
Jennifer,
there
why
to
don't you
talk.
speak to the different meetings you've gone to as far as election meetings and those type of meetings, town clerk meetings? You've gone through several state meetings for the town clerk's position, as well as elections, right?
You mean different trainings and
Yeah.
things? Oh yeah, there's constantly trainings, like even if Linda was still town clerk, she'd have been going to these trainings. Because there's new information, there was the demos for what they're gonna replace this one for all device with. all sorts of things.
And, can I speak about the road agent a little bit, what we're gonna do on that?
We'll wait till that time comes, okay. Any other questions on the town clerk position?
No, I was just concerned,
Yeah.
questioning our policy and how we went about that. Like I said, it had nothing to do with the qualifications of the person holding the role.
No, and
It's a
Headley
step
agreed.
system. You don't usually bring people in at the top step right away, but if that's the policy that for some elected positions you do that, then the step system really doesn't apply. It's just, here's a salary, pull it out of our hat and deal with it.
And maybe before that last election, maybe we should have given it more thought about that, but we didn't, because as Linda said, wasn't sure if she was retiring, so she put it in her budget. Once you put that in the budget, and then you have somebody going for that position, that's where you're stuck. Had we had more of a clean cut, I think maybe we would've rethought that. My thought someday was, maybe we'd also have a town meeting that works on something that doesn't work on the benefits, although
But the
I
thing
know
is,
the amount of time she's putting in.
I disagree with your tone in saying we pulled it out of a thin air or just pulled it out of a hat, we did not. The salary is competitive with other towns. I can't speak to it now, but the thing is, it is competitive with other
It
towns.
was at one point,
We didn't pull it out of our hat, sir.
yeah.
Okay, everybody good on that subject, can we go on to the next section? Okay, financial administration. It looks like the audit services went up $1,000, that's a contractual thing like that. Oh, right, I'm sorry, it went down 1,000. We have the 3% COLA on that as well. Looks like office equipment. We had put in for a fire rated filing cabinet. Actually, that was gonna be for the, same department for Jennifer. We have a lot of records in there that need to be safe, and right now, our fire rated cabinet is at max capacity. Over the years, sometime this year, we're gonna try and get another one. Computer services went up by $3,400, we're adding one more user license. The overall change for that department went up $8,000. Any questions on that department? Okay, assessing department. We've got, 3% COLA to start with there. The appraisal services is down by $2,000. Computer support services is contractual through Vision Software, that went up $2,400. The net change was $549. If I don't see anybody around the corner, make sure to speak up. Legal, looks like the planning and zoning went down $2,000. We had a bunch of big subdivisions in town, and most of those are passed now, so they brought theirs down. The selectmen's legal, we brought down by $4,000. There's an overall deduction on that department for legal of $6,000. Personnel and administration, social security went up by $77.89, Medicare went up by $25.76. Retirement went up by $29,771, based on 11 and a half full-time employees, that's somebody working for a half year. Workers' comp went up by $11,670. We had a holiday credit that was used against that.
Say again the question.
Why is it 100% increase?
Because the year before, there were fewer claims, and so they gave us a credit that we applied towards it on last year's budget. So this year, there's no such thing as a credit, so we're paying full value of the insurance, correct?
Yeah, last year we had a holiday credit was $360. So the true increase would have only been $2,300 had we had that holiday credit. Longevity went up $557. Health insurance went up $76,132.
That's almost 80%.
Yep.
What's up with that?
That's what our health insurance is. We had changed, a couple of years back, we changed to an 80-20 program with most of our employees.
2024 was based on 10 full-time employees, 2025 is based on 11.5 employees.
Yeah, that's not 70-some% increase though.
No, but you had the increase in the rates as well.
Is the
What was
80-20,
What was the policy before?
sorry,
You said you went to 80-20. What was it before?
For the full-time employees, I think it was 100%. So that changed huge by departments. And there's also, it changes whether there's, family plans or single plans. So, we go over that, a couple times a year and review it, depending on the number of employees we got, and how many are on family plans and single plans, and also we give stipends for people that aren't on our plan, that, use their family's plan instead.
so in comparing health insurance plans, I don't know, is an 80-20 a more expensive plan than a high deductible plan, which is what 90%
still
of
have a-
America is on right now?
They still have a deductible on here,
What is it?
might have to pull that
We have
information
2
out.
plan options, and the higher copay, obviously is a lower cost to the town, but it would be an 80-20, where the employer pays the 80% and the employee pays 20%, but they have a $3,000 copay. And then the higher plan, which now, this is the first year I've seen the newer employees enrolling in the better plan, so they have a $1,000 copay, but they're still willing to pay the 20% for the higher plan. So even though, that was a big jump with 3 new people going in a family
So-
plan, 2-person
They went to $1,000?
copay, which is the higher plan, so they have more taken out of their check for their 20%,
Yeah.
but it also impacts the town side.
So we have Primex for our health insurance, which a lot of towns have, and that holiday credit was because they obviously did better for all those towns purchasing than they did the year before. This year, we don't have that holiday credit. So,
This is health trust for
Health
health
trust.
insurance.
But one thing we try to do, we offer employees, like if a husband and wife has a team, if the wife is working for, or the husband's working for a industry somewhere and they get a better health plan, and they can sign up with their health plan, we give them a small stipend to offset, in other words, sign up with their plan, it saves everyone some money. And we give them some money so they can don't sign up with our plan.
How small is small?
We just adjusted it to 6,000, increased it from 51 up to about 6.
It's about $6,000. And it's a net savings to the town. Well, we have how many employees taking
3 employees taking a stipend,
taking a stipend in lieu of us paying
and approximately.
many dollars for insurance.
10,000 for a plan, so it's about $30,000 savings. Even
Pretty
paying them.
substantial savings to the town.
Still too high.
Agreed,
For a
agreed.
stipend, it's still too high.
That is
Yeah.
a very generous stipend.
Well, the thing is, if the issue was, if they join our plan,
I know, I mean, having come from corporate world, that's a very generous stipend.
it is.
I don't get offered a stipend in my job
Yeah,
either.
Yeah.
most companies don't offer one.
Yeah,
But one thing we gotta look at here is this is a town government. And when you look at town benefits, typically, they're better than out in the public, but your pay is not typical to the public either. So a lot of town employees could get better pay on the similar job out in the public, but their benefits may not be as good. Any state jobs or any town jobs, that's typically what they use to entice people in. The benefits are better when you go here. You know, you have longevity, there's all kinds of things that towns have that you don't have. My company doesn't have longevity. I've been there 18 years. You'll be gone tomorrow, there's no longevity pay coming to me. Well, that's the reason people take less pay, work at a town, and they don't go into the public a lot of times. Dana, you had a question?
Yeah, Dave, just clarification, when you were talking about the 80-20, you're referring to the premium portion of it, meaning the town pays 80, the employee pays 20?
Yeah.
Not the benefit portion?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cause your question here,
right, and when she told me the deductible,
you got it.
in my head,
Okay.
yeah,
I wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that this is the
I worked in
premium
healthcare.
80-20,
Okay.
not the benefits being 80-20.
Yeah.
Okay.
where in the past, they were 100% for
Yeah.
full-time employees.
Yeah, Dave, can I just make a general comment, cause that's where I was here, like, I don't have any particular issue with any particular line item. I'm not in the weeds, I don't know what you've done, but my general concern, as I said 2 years ago at the town meeting, was this is not going to end. This increase, we're all facing it in our personal budgets, we're seeing our federal government
Yeah.
gutted because it has continued. And so I guess my general statement is, if you had to keep the budget even, how do we do it? Because, you know, just applying the 3% COLA and, you know, we usually get our new cars at 100,000 miles, maybe we don't get them at 100,000 miles anymore. I don't. You know, my car is now 6 years old. I would've liked a new one 2 years ago.
We typically don't get them at 100 either. I think the last one we replaced had 160 on it. And,
I'm just referencing 2 years ago, I don't know if it was a police cruiser or something, and so I guess my general comment is,
yeah,
I don't think anyone's trying to inflate the budget. I just feel like we're at a point with the assessment coming, that is gonna impact people. And this is an increase in addition, and the school went up. I think we're in a position where it's gotta be absolute need, not wants.
yeah.
We were up in 2022, 2023, 2024, we're looking at it in 2025 and beyond.
Why don't, we get to the end of our budget,
Okay,
and you'll see that at the end of our budget, we're at less than a 1% increase over last year.
I know, but that's not even, and then there's 85 cents in the
I
warrant
know it's
articles.
not even,
And-
but when you go through this budget, we're gonna show you also different things that we've added. You know, we were able to do that. We're gonna have a per diem person working on our ambulance, so we have proper ambulance coverage. We've got a part-time fire chief now that's getting a paid, that, you know, we've never had before in this town. We're getting another full-time, only one other. Now look around other towns, I want you to tell me, any other towns you know, our size or any size, that has only one full-time person working for the highway department.
Well, I mean, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you've got a hard job. I'm just saying that
So we have,
it is
we
hard
have
now.
3 new people coming aboard, and you have to give them benefits when they come aboard. And we're able to keep our budget pretty much flat and bring those 3 people aboard. So that's a pretty hard balancing act to do. We've been doing it, I've been in here 9 years now,
I know, it's very difficult.
and we've been doing it. This is not the only portion of our town, because we got the school portion as well.
I know, yeah.
Okay, totally separate. I don't know how many of you guys have gone to the school meetings, but even if we keep our budget flat on our end, there's still increases by the school.
Right.
Some of those are contractual that don't get to change.
You know, I asked a question at the school board meeting, I said, why are you giving a 5%, over 5% COLA for you? And the answer was, because we needed more qualified people. Well, we need qualified people on our side, but we struggled with,
Yeah.
geez, 3%, that's a little bit high, we thought initially. And the thing is, you know, where do we draw the line? And the thing is, we should have had more people at the school board meeting, because the budget is huge compared to ours.
You know, we tried to follow, the government COLA, and this year was around 2.5, we decided to keep it at 3%. A couple years back, you might remember, we tried to give 2% to the town people, so we'd gone from 3 to 2. And by the way, when I came selectman, it was 0.7 one year, because they were following the government standards. So we've been trying to keep it based around 3, but we went to 2 a couple years back. Somebody voted up 1% more out on the floor, which changed all of our numbers, and everything had to be recalculated out for
Yeah.
our town office people. Tremendous amount of work. So we're trying to keep it at a reasonable rate. We're not matching the school at 5%, we're trying to keep it at 3%.
And I believe you, I do. I'm just expressing the sentiment that in every home today, people are having to do. And I think we need to get tough. I mean, maybe it is saying, well, stipend's down to $250 now. You know, I mean, I know that doesn't save a ton, but across the board, those little changes, we gotta do something, because it is not sustainable every year to go up, 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 up.
But the thing is, at this point, though, we don't have enough volunteers manning our ambulances. So we had to hire a per diem. When you call 911, you don't wanna, yeah, we may get a police car out there, and they
Yeah.
can do first aid.
But maybe that's a
there's
need.
no way- that's a
You know,
need.
maybe that's a need, but
Right.
there are other things
But a
that
full-time employee like that it impacts the budget immensely.
greatly, yeah.
And then, if we lose one of those stipends, and they join our insurance, then any savings we've got is lost. So the stipend is actually, we were debating whether we should raise it this year to encourage more people to get the stipend. But we said, no, we're gonna hold it, because we just raised it about a year ago, we kept it the same. But the challenge is, if we get one of those people come back to our plan,
I know.
our savings are gone.
I hear you, but I mean, does the sentiment, like, you get the
Oh,
sentiment, right? I
absolutely. And the thing
mean,
is,
something will break
And
eventually.
it's frustrating in this community is so frustrating in the sense that we have homes. Where's our industry? Like Goffstown, and Bow, they have industry, and what do we have? Homes.
We chased the industry out.
And that was a mistake years ago from our,
Yeah, that was a mistake.
and so the thing is, it's a challenge, because we're a true bedroom community of other communities around us, who have industry. And to me, that's a big sin of our forefathers who thought, we'll just keep it all residential. The thing is, so every dime we spend goes back to your pocketbook, or your wallets, and it's a challenge, and we go banter back and forth. You could see some of the videos, and I gave Dave such a hard time about spending $5,000. He said, Mike, don't pick on me like that, I'm saving money.
He was trying to spend $5,000, but we brought up, and Justin clarified it. If the 3 people we had on there, and we increased the stipend, decided to, and we got no new employee coming there, it would actually cost us another, $7,500 instead of, costing $5,000, so we rethought that.
I hear you, and it is a challenge. And last couple of weeks, we've been bantering back and forth, where do we save the dollars? And maintain at least some services to your taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
So I hear you, I do hear you. Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, I've been on this fire department 51 years, so I've seen a lot in this town grow and stuff. And the mindset from true volunteers from 51 years ago now is different, okay? You gotta hire part-time people, but the problem is, every town is headhunting for, I can pay you $5 more
Right.
to go to our town, I can pay you $2 more. I see it happen now, and it's wrong. He's got a difficult job. Brenda's got a difficult job too. He does.
And I don't argue any of that. I just, reality is, sometimes in business, and this is a business, they come back to you and they say, you're not getting the budget, figure it out.
Yeah.
And I feel like at some point, we're going to have to get there. I mean, people are getting priced out.
Well, the biggest problem is the school budget
I
versus the
agree.
town budget. And the standard words you would get over there, it's all mandated stuff, we can't change it.
Yeah, and a few years ago, I could not believe, I don't know if it was the principal from Bo or whoever it was, but he stood up in the meeting and said, boy, Bo was in big trouble. We didn't have the money. And then Dunbarton showed up, and it was a miracle. So whatever that contract is with Bo, they saw us coming. Right? So there's a savings for them to renegotiate that. And school's a big problem across the state, I know. I'm just saying that at some point, you don't want Elon Musk, right?
We may want to.
Well, we may want him in some ways, but you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just like a machete and not a surgical
And we don't
tool.
wanna do that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and Dave's, in fact,
What
the
do you
whole
mean we
board's
don't want
thing was,
every week we're here, we do that.
keep services to the public, and the thing is, and like, we're talking about, like, we bring up, like, we review the charges for the transfer station, our favorite place to go on weekends. But the thing is, should we raise the disposal fee? And Dave would come back and says, no, we're not gonna raise the disposal fee, because we have so little benefits to the taxpayer, we're not gonna overcharge them for, like, throwing away trash. And it's a challenge, and, again, I go back to, it's all in a resident, we gotta keep level services, or some level services, same services. We're not going, this budget is Dave's gonna continue to go through is, it's
Yeah,
not
and
luxury, there's no
I'll let
luxury
you
here.
go through it. I'm a lone voice in the wilderness
Oh, no,
here
no, no,
apparently,
your
but
voice,
I
your
just
voice
wanted
is,
to.
your voice is,
Yeah.
we hear it a lot, I think the town administrator hears it on a weekly basis.
When you're paying the taxes to the deputy. And there's two acts, and there's mini acts.
Okay, I just wanna say, for the record, I became a selectman because I felt the same way as you. So I'm gonna tell you, if you feel strongly, you should get involved. Because I became a selectman, and I'm here every week, watching every dollar that gets spent. And believe me, I argue with these guys every week, because I know that I'm gonna retire in 2 years, and my income's gonna be flat. And I'm gonna try and live in this town, I was born here, my kids are the 5th generation in this town. So nobody sees it more than me, and I watch it every week. And our stuff, if you can't make it to our meeting, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Watch every week's meeting. If you have any questions, definitely come in throughout the year. Leo,
Can I correct you, Dave? The meetings are all
every other week.
posted on, or they're all posted on the town website. So you
And
can go-
YouTube or not YouTube?
Well, it's easier to go to the town website and just click on videos and you can watch every meeting. You can skirt through things that you don't wanna hear, but then stop where you wanna stop, you know?
I guarantee it's a good way to go to sleep.
You see some good fights we have too.
Not too often, but we sometimes get in the weeds and we argue, and, we sometimes come to a consensus. It's
But
not
we
all-
do appreciate your questions and coming in, because this involvement is what we need.
Yeah, I know.
And I agree with you, and I think if we could get more people going to the school budget, maybe, you know, they would understand it. And I'm not saying they don't do a great job over there, they have a lot of fixed stuff that can never be changed, when you get more kids, everything goes up, and, you know, a lot of things rolls, but I think that more of us do not need to go to that budget, because when you get your increase and you look at what portions come from where, more of it's generally from the school. And some of that's fixed and it can't be adjusted, but they need to know those same thoughts you
Right.
have.
And we should advertise that on the Dunbarton community page. I know there are other pages, but I think more people subscribe to that Dunbarton community. And sometimes citizens put it there, but it's not generally posted there. So anyway, I'll let you continue.
One quick question over here inside.
For the record, Addison Chase.
Addison Chase, 29 Guinea Road. Is there a plan, as Lynn was saying, to bring us down a little bit? Because of the jump in our taxes, your taxes, everybody's taxes in this town. Is there a future, is there a plan ahead?
Well, our plan ahead for new vehicles and everything else the town has requirement is a CIP plan, which we brought up earlier today. And this CIP plan is a part of public record here, and Donna updates it for us, all the department heads have met. And that CIP plan, you'll see we fund through the warrant articles. And we try and do that to keep spikes in taxes come up any 1 year, so it kind of levels your tax rate out over. So the CIP is one of the largest plans we have going, and you can read any department's future needs from this. Now, what we've always asked for as a board since I've been on it, is slow, steady growth. Every town's gotta grow. Your population,
Absolutely.
when your population grow, you need to think ahead.
Yes.
We need to replace our vehicles, our fire trucks, we need to add employees. And we've asked every department head in this town for slow, steady growth. If you look at these department heads with what they come to us for, they come to us with bare bones, pretty much. Because they know we're not gonna accept it here at this board, and we're not gonna approve it, and we're not gonna vote 3-0 yes for it. So, that being said, they're bringing to us the bare minimums to keep their departments growing slow. You can ask Chief Remillard there, when he comes in for a new officer, a new car, you know, he gives us a full report going back 2 and 3 years and why he needs these and the needs and the growth and the population and the number of police for same-sized towns, all the calls that are going on.
I've heard that, yes.
So-
Okay, my question goes back, how do we, what you say, you said it's flat at the end?
Well, no, this growth, it's never gonna be flat.
Well, that's what I heard.
Okay.
You know, you flattened it out or whatever, or
Well,
something like that.
What you're gonna get to is, our budget from last year is
Yeah.
up $418,000 approximately, the exact numbers we'll go through.
Yep.
Between the surplus we have left over from all the town budgets from last year and the excess revenues that we have received,
Yep,
that's $378,000.
so we got $100,000.
So, no, we have about $30,000. left.
Mr. Numbers.
So our budget over last year's budget, we get to the bottom line here,
Yeah.
it's about $30,000. That's gonna bring your taxes up probably a penny or two. Over, for the town portion, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna repeat this, for the town
Yeah.
portion.
yeah.
So, you're sitting here asking if we can go backwards, I don't think
I didn't
that,
say go backwards.
but
I don't,
I don't
nobody
think
asked
we
you
can
to
go down or
backwards.
under, because the town is still growing,
And why are we still growing?
because your population's increasing.
I understand, but all of a sudden, in the past couple, 3 years, everything is shot sky high. We're buying houses at $700 to $1 million in this town.
Right?
How does that happen?
That's not from us, that's all over the whole.
Hey,
People moving into town.
I
from
know
the
it,
States.
I know it, but by God, you know, and what happens to the people that have lived here? Our taxes are rising, they don't care about taxes being raised. You have never seen, you know, so much vigilant moving in this town in your whole life. I know you've lived here all your life. But all of a sudden, because little Dunbarton, oh boy, we just moved right in there, taxes are low. We just came up from Long Island, we came from Rhode Island, we came from Connecticut, we came from New Jersey. Look at this, what does it do to us? It increases everything we want. Ambulance, school, everything just jumps right up in the air. You know, and there's nothing you can do about it, but it just keeps rising and rising and rising.
Believe me, I'd love for it to stay just the way it
I
was
know.
in the seventies
All right.
when I was born.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. Alright. Here's a CAP dot. Alright, we're gonna start and go down through the rest of this. So we've done the workers' compensation, we've done the longevity, health insurance, dental went up $1,199. Disability insurance, $474. Personnel and administration, the overall increase is $130,000. Planning and zoning, virtually no change, their department had a couple of small increase of $200. For mapping, there was an overall increase of $252. Government buildings, that budget, went up $2,275. And it looks like they had transfer station and police and fire. What is that, election that went up?
No, that's electricity.
Oh, just electricity bill.
We are, the majority of the, well, our buildings are, supplied through Eversource.
Yeah.
And they projected a 6.57% increase as of September 2024, and they're going to increase it again in September of 2025, another 9.62. So this increase for each of these categories is less than $500, but that's with the anticipation that we're going to use this money in this budget, and hopefully we don't exceed this $4,500.
Wasn't the whole theory that was supposed to go down because of the solar array?
No, we're gonna purchase the solar array of January 2026, it's on a warrant article here. So we're still paying the lease on that solar array so far. But what these increases are, it's a delivery increase.
Yeah, no, yeah. we
The
all-
PUC allowed them
Yeah.
6% right off the
Yeah,
boat.
that-
It's
yeah.
going up to delivery 18%.
Yeah, no.
It's ridiculous. Go ahead.
Yep, Dana Lavoy here, I'm on the Energy Committee. As far as the electric rates, you are seeing about $1,000 a month as a whole town less because of that solar array that's producing energy out there. These costs would be $12,000 a year higher, split across all the buildings if we didn't have the solar array. That's independent of the purchase that he's gonna talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, and that's on a warrant article further down the road.
Yeah.
Okay, so general government buildings, the overall increase was $22.75. Cemeteries. It looks like, the mowing and maintenance were up by $400. Cemetery improvements and materials, is $47.13. Cornerstones for the cemetery was $200. Mapping services for the cemetery is $700. There's loam weed control that had a decrease in it of $3,500. And the maintenance on the Hearst house was up $250. The net increase in the cemeteries was 2713. Any questions on that? Okay, insurance. Property liability insurance for the town went up 16,602. Again, there was a holiday credit on that on the previous year, so that's why it looks like it went up so much. The holiday credit in 2024 is 95.55. No holiday credit this year. Looks like the total department was, up by that 16,602. General government buildings,
Total for the general government call.
oh, that was all of them?
Yeah, just categories.
So the whole category is up 165,023. Now we're hitting the police department. 3% COLA brought that line up by 34,284. That was for full-time. Full-time overtime COLA,
That's for the extra police.
602, 602.
yeah, that's with the additional police officer. That's up 3%, and that COLA was, $5,000. And that wages in there, the 34,000 included the 6 police officers for 22 weeks.
Actually, get up for a minute, Dave.
When we get to the bottom, I'll let you speak, Caitlin. Crime control, for the part-time officers was brought down by $17,000 to offset that. Their overall budget, with the increases, we had some lines that went up, dispatch went up $6,900, gasoline went up $1,000, computers and hardware went up $2,000. Telephones went up 2,500, vehicle maintenance 1,500, radio repair 4,000. So that has a total line increase of 43,746, and that includes a 6th police officer for 22 weeks. Go ahead, Mike.
Just, we like the word no sometimes, and the chief of police does not like the word when we say no. This is 18 months after he asked for it. We said no last year, and we deferred it another 6 months this year. We have some growth in this town, we have growth in the police department, but we defer it by a year and a half. And that's if we can find somebody qualified. And so, yeah, it just goes along with the town. We're growing, the police department's growing, but the board actively slowed that process down. Much to his displeasure.
Okay, any other questions on the police department? Okay. Fire department. We have an increase on the, part-time administration of 38,920. And the fire chief is 39,932. The fire department part-time is 24 hours per week, to be adjusted as he sees fit, depending on the calls of fires and whatnot throughout the weeks. And we did schedule for 40 hours for a per diem EMS person to man our ambulance. What was happening is we were going out with one person that was an EMS in our ambulance. When they get to the scene, if you only have one person, you can treat them, but you can't transport them. So after we had an accident, we had one person there, we'd have to wait for Bo to respond. Bo would take the person to the hospital, they'd get the entire credit for the ambulance call. Dunbarton would get 0. So in working with the, chief, we decided to get one EMS person in there per diem to work, that will cover the calls. Our chief now has, paramedic, right?
Yes, I am.
Qualified paramedic, so if he's here 24 hours, he can go on the calls as well. And we typically can always get at least one person from the town to go on the call.
Just a question, when you say Bo gets the full credit, what is that? Just an accolade, or is there money attached to that, or what is it?
When you get, yeah, we can let Brandon speak to it, when we transport to the hospital, the money comes back to a fund. That money allowed us to buy this brand new ambulance, it took about $500,000.
So they're getting the full financial benefit.
They are.
Okay.
So then we're using our ambulance kind of half-heartedly, and so it makes a better benefit for town to get all the benefit of that, and that way when we come to replace this ambulance in 15 more years, we'll have the funds to do it.
And in the meantime, you have another person on the
Well,
ambulance.
a qualified person to
Right.
contribute.
In the
All right,
meantime.
got a question, please? Addison Chase, Guinea Road. On the administration for fire chief, what kind of an increase is that? 10 times?
We never had a fire chief paid for before, volunteer. This is our first year of funding a part-time fire chief.
Oh,
Okay, so your fire chair,
yes, I know.
your fire chief has made
I understand what he's doing, yeah.
a small, I won't say he didn't get paid, he is paid a very small amount of money for being a chief on his on-call hours in the
Okay.
past.
That explains it,
Okay.
thank you.
I have another curiosity question, not related to the
You need
budget.
to come to more meetings.
My mind doesn't stop. So as a paid fire
Can you
chief,
first say your name and address?
yes, Lynn Hartnett, 165 Kimball Pond Road.
Okay.
So as a paid fire chief, what are you doing different from our volunteer fire chief?
What is he doing different?
Yeah.
He's doing the same job, but our volunteer is retired. So John Wigan was there for 25 years.
Chief is 25 years.
Chief is 25 years, and he was on there even longer, has retired.
So the job hasn't changed at all?
Not really. I mean,
Yeah.
Brandon works full-time for the bow department right now, and he's gonna bring in some new things as he's learning them and training, cause he goes to all of the current training. Just as John did
Well, I
when John
think that
used
would
to
be
work for.
interesting, like at some
Concord.
town meeting, to kind of show how you're advancing the fire department based on being a full-time firefighter and having more access.
Now, John did work full-time for Concord before that, and he brought a lot of stuff back to
Okay.
our department as well. Fred?
Yeah, the biggest change is the amount of calls we get. I mean, years ago, were we ever gonna break 100 calls? This past January, we had what, 38 calls, Brandon?
37.
37 calls, which is very unusual. We're heading for almost 400 calls this year. So, the EMTs you have are working other jobs too.
Yeah.
You know, they're not home, you know, and, like I said, he's gonna have a hard job. And John used to come on calls with the oil truck. He'd be
Right,
delivering
Yeah.
oil and come on a call,
I know.
you know?
Well, see, I think that's kind of interesting for the town to know, like, for your money, here's how this has evolved or changed.
This is the last town in the entire area which has a volunteer fire department. Everywhere else
Well, I've
surrounding
always
us.
said, my house is burning down if it catches on fire anyway, so it doesn't.
But
Well, by the time you get
It
there
definitely is
and,
now. That's joking.
we do have a pool though.
your address again? That was Kimball Bond Road.
Pump out the pool about it.
You can use the pool though, if
Sorry. Fire chief?
I just wanted to point out two things. So Brandon Skoglund, I'm the fire chief now. So John Wigan served as the fire chief for 25 years, and he hasn't retired. He has stepped back from his role as fire chief, and he remains on the department. So as a point
That's
of
important, thank you for bringing that.
as a point of information, he stepped back from his role as the fire chief and is my number one responder.
okay.
So
Not with
he-
the oil truck though.
Not with the oil truck and without.
And John still is covering some town inspections, health and safety, boilers in the homes, sprinklers. He's checking the designs here at the town office, so he's gonna be still a big part of the town.
Yeah, John's assisting with some of the administrative things, like inspections. But the other thing to talk about, what Fred Molina mentioned, the busyness of the department and the constant increase in growth. So this past year, we finished with 288 calls for service. That's a combined between fire, EMS, everything. That's the busiest that our town has ever been without a natural disaster. And like Fred had mentioned, at 37 calls in the month of January, and at the steady rate that we're going this month, if we were to apply that throughout the year, we would look at a 400 call year, which would be exponential for us. Just to point those two things out, we're busier than we ever have been. I'm not sure where it comes from. You generally don't see those types of increases in small bedroom communities where there's no industry and really no other call for it. but it's happening.
Speaking of the volunteers in town, people are busier now than ever, and we have less and less volunteers. Every one of our departments and every one of our needs in these towns, especially for these, you know, the select board positions and a couple other, committees that we have, all need volunteers. There's plenty of involvement left here for people to do in town. Okay. We'll buy the police department, we'll buy the fire department, no more questions for them. Where are we at? Building department. Okay, building department has a 3% COLA for the secretary, brought it up 68.20. And that's also for the building inspector. The building inspector's 3% COLA was $1,232. Their overall increase was $8,062. So other than 3% COLA, no change. Emergency management stayed at $1,000, that's kind of a placeholder. Highway department, they had an increase of $5,000 on their supply line. We have a second full-time highway worker, and the 3% COLA for that worker that we're hoping to hire. And by the way, we've been having that job out there for the last 6 months. And we've had 3 people respond, 2 of which I don't think were qualified for the job, and 1 might have been, but decided not to take the job. Hiring people, even though that's, I think, a decent wage, what we think is a decent wage, is still hard. So that increased that line by $44,370. Overtime for the highway department, $6,000 increase. Highway paving, increased cost just in the paving material is $21,246. Roadside mowing went up by $2,000. Uniforms went up by $2,300 because we got a second employee. Mobile phones went up by $350. So each of the guys can have a mobile phone in their truck. Gasoline, they brought it down $1,000 because they use mostly diesel. Diesel fuel went up by $5,000 because we're adding that second vehicle and a second worker. What is that? Equipment maintenance is up by $9,000. The more vehicles you have now, the more cutting edges and all the other maintenance that goes along with them.
That's a factor of 10.
That was actually explained by the road agent as a mistake from last year, that he thought it was supposed to be 10,000 and it got put in his budget as 1,000. We don't know how that happened, but that's why that increase is 9,000.
So his previous budget only had $1,000 in it, that line should have been more. Good catch, Ron.
Can you explain that again, please? I'm sorry.
When we did last year's budget, 2024,
Yeah.
the department equipment, highway
Got it.
maintenance got put in as $1,000 instead of $10,000.
Okay.
So it's shown a $9,000 increase, which really, it was marked wrong. In his budget, he actually spent in maintenance last year, $15,862. So, road striping went up by $2,500. Total highway department budget went up $96,941 is the overall increase. And again, that includes a second full-time highway worker for the first time in Dunbarton's history, if we get one. Okay, solid waste. Full-time workers had a $2,000 increase for the COLA. Part-timers had a $37.65, 3% COLA. Our transfer station is run by all part-time individuals except for the person running it, which is the department head. There has been some talk about getting another full-timer down there because our needs have changed down there so much, but we've resisted that to try and hold off of the increased cost of the town. Overtime went up by $157. Department equipment maintenance, went up by $6,500. We had a couple of invoices come in to repair the dumpsters and one other. It was after the closeout of the 2024 season, so we paid them on 1/28 of 2025. We had an increase in MSW for the transfer station of $3,700. The C&D removable construction debris went up by $750. Total department increase was $16,891 overall. Welfare went up by just a 3% COLA of $392. Welfare is done. Parks and Rec stayed flat at $2,200. Old Home Day Committee went up for $500 for event costs. So Old Home Day is subject to $500 increase. The library, budget for the library is done by the library committee, it's part of our budget overall. The overall increase for the line items in the budget, and this included all their health insurance and 3% COLA and everything, was $15,223. The payment bond that we're due for our roads that we did a few years back has gone down, so there's a decrease in our payment bond by $58.96. Total budget for 2024 was $3,319,000. Total budget, the new budget will be $37,520. Total increase of $417,791. That being said, excuse me, that's about a 12.59% rounded off budget increase, 2025 over 2024. We have a lapsing surplus between last year's budget and this budget that we have of $111,000, $691 lapsing. We have surplus revenues of $274,507. If we take the increase of $417, the select board has agreed in previous meetings, budget meetings, to apply all of the lapsing funds and all of the surplus back to the voters. Going right back, everything we have extra, not being spent on anything else, of $386,198. The actual increase in our budget after the surplus has been applied and the lapsing funds is $31,593. So, that's about a 1% increase over last year's budget. Every year, we have lapsing funds, because you set a budget ahead of time, and these are funds that weren't spent during that budget. We always have lapsing funds. We typically always have surplus from the actual revenues that come. Our board has been very diligent in budgeting our revenues and our expenses. And what it comes down to in making that, we always have a little excess left at the end, so we're not running in the red on these things, and we stay in the black. And we've either applied it to warrant articles, the rainy day fund, or right back to the taxpayers. Our rainy day fund should be at about 5% of our overall budget. I think right now we have about $500,000 there, $490,000, and it's like 3.9% of our budget. Because we're a smaller town and we don't have much debt outside of our own town building, we've decided that that amount of money should be safe if there's any disaster, along with our budget that we have currently. And so then we put all that money back towards keeping our tax rate flat.
Can I just point out something? The rainy day fund that Dave is just talking about is currently at $509,965 based on our tax rate setting in October. That's about 3.8% retainage. The DRA wants us to retain a minimum of 5%, which would be $670,000. But this 3.8% is based on the total budget. So when the school keeps going up 700 to $1 million, this is based on 13,410,000. So even if we kept a fairly level services budget for the town portion of the operating budget, our rainy day fund appears to be reducing, going lower than the 5% minimum required. And it's the recommendation, but the board makes the decision to apply any of that surplus the way they do this evening.
So the $31,593, if you took the value of your home as you see it on your tax bill, and multiply 0.07 cents to it, that would be your increase from the town portion of this budget.
Less warrants.
Less the warrants, we do have warrants to go through still.
What was the big windfall in the revenues, that we have 275,000 excess?
Like I said, we always have excess revenues and surplus, no big windfall.
More golfers.
You had some rooms and meals, you had some coming from the,
But does that mean then I was overtaxed last year? And now you've got the excess from being overtaxed?
you've never been overtaxed.
Oh, yeah?
Ron, in actuality, you are correct. In the sense that, yeah, we are overtaxed, but the thing is, rather than keeping the money, it's coming right back to you. We're not taking anything away from you. In other words, we could have withheld some to bring it up to 5%, the DRA recommendation for a reserve, but we have very little debt. So rather than sit on it or spend it, we return it to the taxpayers.
That, Ron, the rooms and meals changes as people come through our different parts of the state. So we never know that amount, so we budget that on a safe amount every year. And we also get some money from the, dike area there of the flood control. And those numbers vary throughout the state, so we keep them somewhat conservative to make sure that we don't come in with money less. But no big windfalls, there's no big grants like there was in other years or anything else.
What's the board's, position on, 2025, we're all gonna get reassessed to market value, right?
So what's gonna happen is.
Yeah, well, mechanically, how is that going to
So
work?
mechanically, if
We're
they
gonna
raise
create more money,
but if they
right?
raise the price of your house, right?
Right.
They gonna decrease the tax rate.
So Dunbarton is committed to doing that, so it won't be, it's a 27.
We're not asking for anything more than what you see here.
Yeah, no, I get it, so, but we're like 27, whatever, 1,000 right now, or
Yeah.
26, whatever it is, I might be wrong on
Yeah.
that.
So the tax rate
So
will
we
come-
can expect once that happens, that rate is going to go
Yeah,
down.
so you might see a rate of 23.
For sure,
For sure.
okay.
So if you
Cause
see,
that didn't happen in both.
well, it's gonna happen here, cause we haven't asked for anything new.
Right, well, because the folks in Bow, cause this just happened last year, they all were assessed to market value in 2024, and, the bodies are like
And then
everywhere.
Bo spent the money the following year.
Yeah, Bow's got a lot of drama in their town, right, so I'm curious, about that,
Well, I'm here for
whether
at
we're
least
gonna follow
one
in
more year,
both
so-
footsteps.
What you see in the budget is what we're spending.
Can I just point out that, the last reval was in 2020, we picked up an extra $37 million to bring everybody's values up to the 100%, that was their goal.
Right.
In 2019, that same tax rate for those same homes, except for the new buildings constructed, $27.21, and that's what theoretically a reval does, it brings everybody's values up,
Yeah.
and the goal is to see that tax rate go down.
Yeah.
So you just have to make sure that people understand that, ooh, we got a windfall, let's spend more money, that's
Right.
not our thought process.
Well, that's great to hear, hopefully the school is gonna continue to think that way as well.
I don't think they ever have.
Begin.
Yeah,
begin.
well, yeah, they're gonna have to.
No, but the
sooner
thing
or
is,
later.
in defense of the school, I mean, I have no kids in the school.
Yeah, me
But
neither.
the school, by providing a great quality education, helps my property value.
Sure.
And if I ever went to sell, people are gonna wanna come to Dunbarton because they have great schools.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
that-
that's indirect benefit, but the thing is, we have good schools in this town.
Right, that's wonderful, but at the same time too, like, Mr. Knoll was saying here, he's gonna retire next year and, where are you gonna whip out when your taxes are $20,000, a year after tax dollars?
I
you know?
think we all have to be fiscally
Yeah, I've been here
responsible.
21 years and, I went from $2,500 to 10,000 now.
Right.
And I live right by the transfer station. Wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I'm the fastest person that can take your trash in this room. This is my neighbor too, so we're doubled. But You know, but the thing is, you know, you kinda look at that and say, wow, we've been here 21 years, I don't wanna leave, why, you know, but, you know, you're getting to the point where folks our age, and there's many in this room that feel the same way, saying, well, where in the world does this money come from?
And where can you go?
Right.
I
I will
mean,
tell you, look at other towns, Henniker, Hopkins.
Well, I bought a piece of land up in Hebron,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
so as a backup plan. All right, you know, like, what are you gonna do?
yeah,
Right,
a true challenge.
yeah, okay.
Okay, we're going through the revenues.
Revenues,
Okay. Gonna change the revenue page. Land use, we kept it flat at $60,000. That's land use changes. That's one that's up in the air. We had a kind of a windfall on that last year. Ron was asking, we had $90,000, the previous year on that. We had a bunch of subdivisions come through that we were getting that current use penalty on. Those are pretty much slowed down now. So we're gonna get the, lots here and there, but it probably won't be as high as that again, so we kept that at $60,000. And these are some of the reasons why you'll see we keep these revenues somewhat consistent. And then we also have that extra money at the end of the year, which we can apply back towards the tax base. Yield taxes for timber, we brought it up by $5,000 because we have a lot of, cuttings coming in town that we've gotten, we're hoping. If it doesn't, we're gonna slap Mike's hand on that one.
Don't worry, they're cutting them down.
Revenue from taxes, licenses and permit fees, we brought up by $5,000. No change on the rest of that as far as, motor vehicles and permits. You'll see we saved $775.
This is what it's supposed to be applied to. Everyone buy a new car.
You'll see that Jennifer took in, again, you look at how much they took in that department between Linda and Jennifer, they were $901,000 on those motor vehicle permits. We kept the budget at $775 flat, because we're thinking people might hold their vehicles for a few more years. Building permits stayed flat at $30,000. Again, we had a bump in building permits, they made $51,000 or $54,000 the prior year, but we expect those to go down because our big developments are down.
I have a question.
Yep.
So you think the building permits are going down, is that correct?
That's right, cause most of the big subdivisions are starting to be built out.
Okay. Were there changes in the zoning for like ADUs or anything like that?
ADUs,
Accessory dwelling units, I don't.
there was a few years back, but I don't think anything currently this
Okay,
year.
alright.
So ADUs are allowed
Yep,
on houses.
on every lot in the town of Dunbarton.
Okay.
That was a new rule that come down from the state a few years back.
I think the only limitation is is a square footage limitation, I believe.
On the ADUs, yeah.
That was it.
The reason I ask is because of the housing crisis that's going on in the state, and they're trying to get towns to
Changes on
ease up, change the zoning, so that there's more affordable housing essentially. And I didn't know if, you know, that would drive up some of the permits.
Well, I think the biggest threat to this town is at the state level. If we have like, throughout town, a minimum of 5 acres to build on. Can you imagine if we become a golf town and the state mandates you can build on a 1 acre lot? Dunbarton character will change immensely. And I think he's talking about tax impact, immense. And so, I'm kinda like, yeah, this is Dunbarton, I like Dunbarton, I don't want the state to mess with local rule. And that's what they may be doing, so we gotta be vigilant to make sure they don't do it. Right, I've got a state rep right here.
It's actually the opposite, as far as the new housing committee, we're trying to give back more local control and get rid of the red tape at the state level.
Thank you.
Alright, moving on. We already did yield tax, so we get down there, no change on the interest properties. Looks like we have a $5,000 increase that we're offering on revenue from taxes. An overall increase, license permit fees. Like I said, we're keeping the motor vehicle at $775, so there's no change there. Building permits are at $30,000. looks like licenses, permits, and fees, revenues from other government agencies, we're offering no changes there.
And it was brought up before, the room and meals tax, we conservatively we don't know how it's gonna be. It could be up, could be down. If we overestimate it, then we're gonna be operating in the red. And so we're very conservative about our room and meals anticipated revenues.
Although,
Last year, wasn't it budgeted for basically the amount that came in at? Or let me change that budget number.
You have to change it based on the
Okay.
DRA setting and the audit requirements, but
Right, it was lower at the
we
beginning of the year.
conservatively set it at 135,000, so the DRA came to us and said, we're giving you more money, this is what you have for rooms and meals, I have to go into the program and increase that budget line by that dollar amount.
we set that number in October, so it's kinda odd, it doesn't match our fiscal year,
Yeah,
and,
Doesn't
it
match
took me a
the
few
term
years
before
to
it changes.
get onto that as well.
yeah.
So you'll see that on the highway block grant, we have 100,000, on the forest, federal forest, we have 4,000, flood control, we have that at 70,000, rooms and meal, we have at 175,000. So that would be the lion's share, Ron, on your earlier question. It looks like what do we have, that $55,000 down there on this yellow thing?
So this category is category 3401 in the department revenue accounts.
Yeah, we kept
only
it at the
put-
same
We only plug
55,000.
in 2 lines, and the computer generates different categories. But overall, we collected 81,877. In that category, we set it at the same budget that we did for 2024.
And the next line down is interest on investments, we kept that at $1,000. The rest are miscellaneous, those are not available. The, total revenues show up at $1,330,500. So that excess revenues we showed you before was on that bottom of the page, is $274,507. It looks like projected revenues are $11,000 higher than they were in 2024. That's it for the revenues. Nobody else has this summary page, right, Lean, just
Nope.
us?
Do the articles,
So, we'll hit the articles, cause the summary page will be at the end of those articles. Everybody have a copy of the articles? There's more copies up there if needed. So the overall budget is what we just went through, which is article number 3. So instead of reinventing the wheel on that, we're gonna go right to article number 4 and review the articles. We're having a reevaluation as it was stated this year, so we're asking for $15,000. To come on that reevaluation, to make sure we have the funds in there to do that. This will come straight from taxation, and the impact is 4 cents, you can see that on there. So we put a, Lean has put a dollar value, which is nice, on all of these warrant articles in here. If you have a question on a certain warrant article, bring it up as we go through them. To see if the town will vote to raise $75,000, that's the statistical property reevaluation. Withdrawal of $75,000 from the reevaluation capital reserve fund, no amount to come from taxation. So because we've been putting that in there through the capital reserve fund, and we're putting 15 more thousand in there this year, there will be no money coming from taxation of that $75,000 requested for the reval. Everybody understand that? Okay. Article number 6.
David, is the board gonna vote on these as we go through them?
Yeah, we could do that, John. Save us from going through them again.
I thought we were gonna do a wrap up here.
We'll do them at the end.
You don't have the last 2 years, just cause we've already beaten this to death.
Okay. We've been over this so many times, John, I guess we're gonna do it at the end.
So we're already set.
That's our reset. See if the bond will vote to $25,000 to transfer station vehicle capital reserve fund. This was brought down at our previous meetings, it was originally requested, I believe, $40,000. In that 6-year program, we were looking to replace, the skid steer, as well as the backhoe loader. And the last item he had on there was replacement of the big truck that we bring the, construction and demolition and all of the stuff down to the state. Is it the state we bring it
No,
to?
to some of the centers, the trash centers.
Yeah.
They vary around the state. We go for the lowest we cost.
Talking about saving money for the town, we've looked at that, buying a new $250,000-$300,000 truck, trying to find somebody with a CDL license, to run that truck. We've looked into hiring, independent companies to truck that for us. Instead of having all that overhead, I think in the future, we'll probably hire a company to do the trucking for us. So it'll be a fixed cost per run per year.
But we'll go through the number crunching on that. But that's a change in the future.
So we did pull that number down to keep, our taxation down on that. That 25,000, that capital reserve is 6 cents. The next line item below it. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $13,000. $13,050 for the fire department emergency vehicle capital reserve fund, established prior to this. This is to come from unassigned fund balance, no amount is to come from taxation.
That's an odd number, $13,050.
That's the sale of the, fire engine that we sold last year, less the fees for the,
We, remember we bought the new fire truck, little used fire truck? We sold the old one, and that's after we pay the commission, all that's money coming back to the town.
Okay.
So legally, we have to take it out of our unassigned fund balance and put it into that balance for the
I
fire
was just
truck.
questioning why, 13,000, why not a round number?
It's just the way the math worked out.
Okay.
So we're taking that fire truck that was sold, putting it back into their fund. Okay, number 8, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the fire department emergency vehicle capital reserve fund established in 2014 by the capital improvements program. This sum is to come from taxation. Again, we're keeping this at $50,000, we talked about bringing it down. But replacing fire trucks is something that is getting very, very expensive. And, we wanna keep money in there to make sure that we can offset those purchases, when they come down the road. Any questions on number 8? Number 9, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $88,000 to purchase a new command vehicle. And to authorize the withdrawal of $88,000 from the fire department emergency vehicle capital reserve fund established in 2014. No dollars to come from taxation.
I have a question on that one.
Yep.
And the reason I'm asking is because the command vehicle is $20-some thousand more than a fully loaded police cruiser. This is another subscript. So I'm questioning, what is the command vehicle have and do that is worth $20,000 more than a police cruiser?
Well, not only is it the command vehicle, but it's a command vehicle that's fit up for the fire department. And I'll let Brandon speak to that, cause the truck is gonna have several
Yeah,
things
it's
on it.
just for my own information, because I'm looking at the numbers like, whoa.
Again, we have an actual quote on it now since Brandon's been the, new chief. And so, Brandon, why don't you speak to how that truck's fitted up?
Yeah, so the pricing for, I'd say 80% of what goes into this is all, it's all state bid pricing, so the vehicle itself is a state bid through the manufacturer, whichever we choose to go with. Between Ford and Chevrolet, they kind of hover within $3,000 to $4,000 of each other for the same style of vehicle. The lighting packages that go in, for the manufacturer, or for the lighting, vendors, we get a 40% discount being a municipality, as a state bid price, and those kind of hover in the same ballpark area for a vehicle as well. I think the biggest outfitting costs that come into that are, the command box, that goes in the back of it. They're custom made and designed to go into the back of the box. to house the different equipment that we use over what the police department uses. It houses the radios, the communications. We use also a second radio compared to what the police department typically uses. They operate primarily on one channel on the radios. The command car has two separate radios so that we can simultaneously communicate with our dispatch centers and with everybody operating on a fire ground. So there's usually twice as much radio cost as there is in a police vehicle as well.
For the vehicle itself, are we talking like Explorer size, like the police car bar uses, or are you talking like suburban expedition size?
Tahoe Expedition size.
Okay, so it's a bigger vehicle.
A little bit bigger vehicle
Okay.
as well, yeah.
Just curious on why it was that much different. And is this something then that you would be having your possession most of the time as chief?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, either myself or when I'm away, or I'm gonna be away for planned periods of time, another one of the chief officers or officers.
So it's not gonna be sitting at the fire department all day in the garage?
No.
Okay.
Although we'll be there, well, he's gonna have rights to drive it to his home in case he has to go out on an emergency, so. It'll be left somewheres when he's at his full-time job, if that's your question.
No, that's what I mean it's
Within
not
our
like the
town.
fire truck is parked at the fire department, and the only time you drive it is when there's a call, and you drive there to pick it up and then drive it.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Would it be possible, I know in past years I've had the same problem, when I'm trying to evaluate this, I don't know what vehicles we have, how old they are, how much mileage, would it be possible to add that for fire and police onto the town website so that we could look at that before the vote?
We possibly could, I know that, the police chief has done a great job breaking down how many vehicles we have, how much mileage on them, how many idling hours on them, cause that adds up to the total hours on the vehicle. And, so he has that breakout. We only have a few highway vehicles now,
Yeah.
but I'm sure we could probably
It would be
make a
really
list of
helpful
town
for the
vehicles.
townspeople to know, like, well, here's what we do have and here's why we think we need one,
Right,
you know?
not a bad idea, we might be able to do that, it's hard to do it under a certain department though, so.
I think what the departments have done in the past years is they've held on to their equipment for 15 to 30 years, so we're not looking to say we just bought it a couple of years ago. These are vehicles that are being replaced that are several years.
I know, but I don't know that, and no one in the town will know that. We don't have the information to say if this is a good buy or not.
Yeah, or another way of looking at it is, for the appropriation, what vehicle's getting retired,
Right.
But now, at town meeting, we generally do have the department head speak to each vehicle as we're purchasing them, so every year that's been done that I've been here.
Actually, that was Larry Camo, Month Below Road.
Perfect.
This was in answer to you, and I'm sure Brandon could speak to it. It's been my observation, the command vehicle has been in use for many years in this town. He could speak to the age of it now if he'd like, and he can present that at the town meeting also.
And our current command vehicle that the fire chief is using, he was a volunteer, but that came from our police department already. It was one that they were pretty much done with, and it was an expired vehicle.
So they just painted it red and used it as a fire.
So,
It worked.
it did. Now we're at a time where we need to replace that, and we
Yeah.
don't have any vehicles. The engine blew in one of our older vehicles in our police department.
Well, and that's the context that none of the voters have.
But you will at town meeting. Then no town
That's
meeting.
another topic.
And no town meeting where those vehicles haven't been explained.
Yeah.
And, before we come up with this final budget, we had budget meetings starting in, end of November. And we have every week, we have 2 or 3 department heads in here, we go through the different departments, and we make them come back in, and we kick them down the road and go through our changes to their budget, where we'd like to cut, and, where we'd like to, see them end up. And so all of those are available either online or come to them, cause all of those discussions are in place.
Some can be lively.
I've heard.
Okay, on to article number 10, to see if the town will vote and raise the appropriate sum of, $21,062 to purchase, a new pump, controller, medication safe, and respiratory ventilator to authorize the withdrawal of $21,062 from the fire department equipment, non-lasting special revenue fund. No dollar amount to come from taxation. Brandon, you wanna speak to that one quickly?
Sure. So in years past, the fire department has operated at, 3 different levels of EMS. You have EMT, AEMT, and paramedic. And in the past, I'd say 5-6 years, they've standard operated at the AEMT level. Where I myself am a paramedic, and one of the per diems that we're looking at hiring, is also a paramedic. We're gonna be able to increase the services that we provide, but we also need some additional equipment to be able to do that. So the emergency ventilator itself will, that'll allow us to better treat and manage folks that have severe respiratory disease and respiratory related problems. The IV pump is as advertised. There are certain medications that we can administer to folks who have critical illness, but need to have an IV pump in order to administer them. Right now, we don't have access to those medications. And then the controlled substance safe as well is as advertised. And paramedics are the only ones who can administer a Schedule 1 narcotic, a controlled substance medication. And this safe in installing it in our ambulance is gonna give us the ability to have it locked, have different ways to access it, and actually have an audit trail for the folks that do access it.
Can I speak on it as well? This particular article is coming from the ambulance special revenue account that was set up specifically for the ambulance runs that we make, that we don't put into the general fund, goes into this, special account that's held, and the only way they can spend is through town meeting, so this is what they're doing to make sure that they have the ambulance and the services that we can provide.
I think it's a win-win for the town, because we provide better care to the patient, and we get higher reimbursements from the insurance companies, because we're providing a higher level of care.
If I could add one more piece on that, so I put this out here as a warrant article to use the funds, or at least have them available. But my intent is to apply for grants to be able to get this equipment at no cost. So I had 2 grants that I've identified that are appropriate. I'm waiting for just some revenue documents so that we can apply for them. But I intend on spending none of this money if I don't have to, just to be able to get the equipment through grants.
So Brandon came to us a few weeks back and we thought it was good. We put it in as a warrant article. If he gets those grants, that money comes back to the taxpayers the following year.
Well, it comes back to his capital, his fund.
It's in his fund.
Yeah, back to his fund, which is back to the taxpayer. Okay, article number 11, see if the, town will vote to raise and appropriate $20,000 again as a highway vehicle capital reserve fund. Again, that is, adding money in, the last dump truck we just had. We just received it in, the truck itself was $150,000, it was $99,000 to fit it up. So you're gonna see a brand new dump truck here coming around, green one, just like our other one, same company. It's $250,000 when you see those trucks go by. And, we're buying them through the state bids, we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing, as far as buying those right, and we're not even buying the top of the line vehicles, we're buying. One nice thing is they are both automatics, are new ones, so we could hopefully have more availability to drivers. Any questions on Article 11? Article 12, see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate $20,000 back to the police vehicle equipment capital reserve fund as established in 2020. I worked with Chris to establish that in 2020, it was one of the only sections in town that didn't have a vehicle fund, capital reserve. We moved it up from 15 to 20, the vehicles are getting more expensive, and fitting the vehicles up are more expensive with the changeovers for everything we need to do. Again, that's another 5 cents.
How much is in that fund now?
$27,970.
Where are you getting that number?
Trust funds.
No, I'm saying, where do we get that number?
It's going to be in your town report.
Oh, but I don't have that here.
If you want a copy now, you can have mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cause that's kinda helpful to know. Thanks.
So, that'll show you what the total is in those funds, and that they are drawing from those funds.
Got it.
Obviously.
Thank you.
And again, those are based over the CIPs that are set up every 6 years. Okay, article number 13, see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $62,800 to purchase a new police cruiser and equip and install equipment, and to fund this appropriation by withdrawing $28,000 from the police vehicle equipment capital reserve fund established in 2020, and to further appropriate 22,000 from the police special duty revolving fund. Established at special town meeting May 9th of 2008, with the remaining $12,800 to come from taxation. So you can see, we have two funds that we withdraw from: the special duty fund, which is when the town officers work out of town on special duty or in town. The money goes into a special duty fund to help offset these vehicles, and also the other vehicles. And, you can see we're $12,000 shy of it. We ended up having to replace one car or one vehicle, on an off year, cause we had a motor blow. This is putting us in the every other year replacing one police vehicle. It's how we set it up, and it's working out well with the number of officers we have and the chief to rotate the vehicles, keep our mileage reasonable, keep them safe, and keep them operating. Any questions on this article?
How many vehicles are there?
6, I think.
I can speak to that.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Right now, we have 5. One's assigned to me, one's assigned to the sergeant. And we have 2 line cars, patrol vehicles, and then 1 backup detail car. So getting us on the every other year cycle has been really beneficial, because in the past, the police department would run these things until the wheels fell off. And we had an officer going to a serious medical call, and the engine exploded. Which is really bad. Fortunately, he was able to bring the vehicle to a stop, but at any rate, ever since that happened, I've been working with the board to make sure that we are replacing these cars before they reach a point where the engine idle hours plus the odometer is not exceeding 150, 200,000. So the car that we're gonna be cycling out is a 2017 Explorer with probably north of 300,000 on the engine right now. The good part is we sell those at state auction and the town gets money back. I think the last one we sold, we got about $7,000 back, so there is money coming back to the town to help offset everything.
And I just wanna mention the special detail revolving fund. What is that? When you see a construction project and there's policemen flagging you through it, our officers participate in that. They get some extra money, some pocket money I call it, some extra money for their salaries that doesn't come out of the town. Town gets a rental, they rent our cars to put our car up there, and we get a fund we get basically reimbursed for that. So it's a revenue source for the town, and we put it into this fund, so it helps offset future purchases like this. So it's a win-win for the officer, it's a win-win for the town.
Okay, that takes care of article number 13, going on to article number 14, see if the town will vote and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be added to the land purchase capital reserve fund established in 1997 as summarized in the capital improvement plan. That's 4 cents to taxation. We as a board have been adding 10,000, 5,000, 15,000 to this fund. And looking back at the capital reserve and thinking ahead for our town and the growth of this town, we need additional land in order to take care of the town's needs. And you gotta think way in advance to do some of this stuff. We actually, in looking back at the time I've been a selectman, should have been putting more money in this fund. We've had other needs within the town that we've been working on, but we've kind of always put this aside. You can't keep putting it aside without looking ahead. Sooner or later, this town office isn't gonna be large enough to cover what we need. Sooner or later, no, it's actually sooner. Right now, we don't have appropriate parking around this building or our library / town hall, especially with the use of the second floor. The town is growing. Parking's not getting any better around here. When they have functions, people are all up and down roads and during the parade, so part of this capital reserve, for land, is land near the center of town. The townspeople need to think ahead as it comes up for sale to purchase, to try and keep this town at a slow, steady growth, but they have room to expand when we need it.
And there's only 63,000 in that account right now.
Yeah. And adding the 15,000. So that being said, article number 15 is one we've just actually squared away, and I'm gonna read the article to you, and then I'll go over questions you have with it. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $245,000 to purchase 16 acres of land for the town, consisting of a portion of lot F3-05-05, known as the Lane Lot. It's 16 acres shown on the plan number and recorded August 1st, 2024 at the Merrimack County Registry of Deeds. That is not included in the conservation easement area, and further to authorize the selectmen to withdraw $78,000 from the Land Purchase Capital Reserve Fund established in 1997, with the remaining $167,000 to come from taxation, which is 39 cents. And I have a map up here that is the one we're referencing, which I'm gonna see if we're gonna print maps or do. This parcel of land, used to be owned by Les Hammond. It's right up the road, just a quarter mile out of town on the right-hand side,
Across from the town palace.
across from the town pond.
Yeah.
The land was a large parcel of land,
Pretty good
and
place for six.
the people bought it a few years back. And it's the sister of Ken Kerber up here that bought it. And, the land was going for $600,000 back then. And there was no way to get a purchase set up before they wanted to sell it, so it went to somebody else. Luckily, it was a great person. They just put a conservation easement through there, which connects all the school land and the town land with the Kerber property,
Just to the left.
with the Lane property, which is the next property down, and also goes all the way down by Grapevine Road and connects to the, property down there on the Stone Farm. So it was an ideal piece that connects all those pieces of property up, and the conservation easement was set up on 134.27 acres of it last year. During that process, I met with the homeowner there. It was always part of their thoughts. And by the way, that conservation easement wasn't given to the town at cost. That conservation easement, other than drawing up the plans and going through 5 Rivers, which there was some minimal cost, somewhere around $30,000, that land was donated for conservation. It was a great, great thing that she did. I met with them several times because they were speaking about this land being used, for town future uses. Whether it's a ballpark, whether it's a new town office, whether the school gobbles up where the police and fire department are in a building that was built in the 1960s, and they expand and we put the, safety complex up there of police and fire. This is for any and all future uses that would go in front of the voters in the future. Nothing, scheduled for it right now. But it's a thinking ahead, it's a parcel of land that came up. They originally drew that piece much smaller. I asked them to make it sizable enough, so that if we put a safety complex or a building up there, we wouldn't have this same situation where we have a beautiful building, no parking around it. So, this 16-acre parcel is right in the town center pretty much, being a quarter mile away from the town, and,
Along the road. Along the road.
yeah, along the road. And, would make for great town future use. So, we were waiting for an appraisal to come back for this homeowner, and it came through just within the last week or so. And so this warrant article was placed on here right at the end. But we thought our due diligence as select board was to provide this information for the, legislative body and townspeople, and hopefully they, think ahead. So that's 39 cents on the value of your home going out,
We
as a one-time.
We criticize, the people who were before us for not thinking about industry and all that kind of stuff. Well, we're trying to be proactive here and thinking about the town may grow, whatever need may come around, surface, whether it be this building, a safety center, we gotta have land is a commodity. even if we do nothing with it and we need money, we could sell it down the road, it's valuable. But I really think for expansion, as this town grows, we're gonna need a place to go, and this just makes common sense.
So 14 and 15, the two work together though, right?
Yes.
Because you need the extra cash in 14 to take it out of the reserve.
Correct, so,
Right, yeah.
so 14 doesn't pass.
Right, the two work
People wanted
together.
15 to pass, you have to amend the article
Got it.
on the floor.
When's the last time the town purchased land?
Not in my time, I've been here 22 years.
So is this money we're trying to raise covering all of the costs of
That's
the
correct.
real estate
That's a
transaction?
good point. The land itself was $225,000. So this land, even though they've drawn it, it's not part of the easement, still needs to go through the full planning and subdivision process. Still needs to get paid tax stamps, still needs to have the boundaries put in, still has to have butters notified, it still has to go through all the meetings through planning, to get it done,
So it hasn't even been subdivided yet?
No.
Off of the parcel, so
But-
it's in current use as well, I assume?
That's right, yeah.
So
No,
But you still have to pay the New Hampshire transfers tax.
That's
and
right.
Are you gonna 50-50 split it with the seller, or you
I
pay
put in
for all
there,
of it, or?
I put enough in there that if the town needed to cover it, they could, but that's all stuff we would be able to negotiate.
Oh, so you can deal with that in the two, whatever, that's there?
The sum.
Okay, got it.
So
I
that,
was looking
it
for
would
peace
cover
of
the
mind, right?
surveying, the subdivision, everything, any of that money that's left over from them, again, would go back to our tax base.
Who owns it now?
It used to be Les Hammonds, is
Yeah.
now owned by a woman by the name of Lane.
Catherine,
Catherine Lane, she lives in Goffstown.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Can I just speak on it? Just for the public, the frontage along the road is almost 500 feet on this property, so there will never be a line of sight or any issue of trying to squeeze in through a small access. It's 16 acres. This area in the common that you're sitting in right now is less than 2 acres. So you can get a bigger picture of what it is we're looking to purchase. And Dave worked out the best area to keep out of conservation because it's fields and farm and it's along the road, so.
it's all buildable land, when you go to the back side of it, there starts to be a little wetland area, crossing. But basically all 16 acres is high, dry land, in fact, part of it's an old field.
So she's subdividing, cause she's got 147 acres here that I'm looking at right
Yeah,
now.
it's just 16.
Okay, so she's taking 16 off the 147 that she's got.
So if you look,
Got it.
cause they just did a new plan,
Lucrative for her.
Yeah.
that's what I was telling you, so there's 134 acres, that's part of a conservation easement now.
Yeah, I see that.
Alright, and so what's left is this 16-acre parcel. And again, this has been a couple-year process just to get this in the works, because as they're going for their conservation easements, going through 5 Rivers, that was a year and a half down the road. My discussions with them about leaving a parcel up front, they were very happy to try and do that for us. If I hadn't done that foresight, I think all that land would be.
You know, a former selectman
Conservation.
actually made the first contact with him.
Less.
No,
Oh.
Bob Martell.
Oh, got it.
And Bob basically opened the door for
I
us
see.
and communicated with the family. And again, land is a finite resource, and the thing is, it may not be in our lifetime we see anything done with it, but we're planning for the future. And I think it's something we haven't done well in this town. Maybe we can do better.
I mean, even the land fund in there, the CIP, I've been at fault for not funding that better. Had I funded that appropriately since I started being a selectman, and wasn't worried about every other need of the town only, that money, there'd have been a sufficient amount of money to buy this piece of land at zero cost to taxpayer
We just-
in the current year.
We just
Yeah,
don't
well, 2018, Les sold it for $5.99. Okay, it's right here.
So it's
Yeah,
not
so-
hard to figure.
Yeah, right, got
And
it.
we're getting the frontage lot, they only cut
Right,
100
yeah, I
feet.
saw that, that's sweet.
So we're getting the lion's share of the frontage and the lion's share of the best land.
Right.
You know, you talk about backland, it's great for conservation, but unless you built a road, that backland is still backland, and there's a power line that goes through and everything else.
Right.
But this is the best portion of the property.
Yeah, it's right on Stark Island.
my initial thought was, why are we spending money on land we don't know what we're gonna do with? Well, the thing is, that's gonna be for the next board to decide, and maybe the board after that, but we're gonna give them the opportunity to have that opportunity to make that decision. It may not be with us.
I'm gonna give you an example, this yellow house in our time went up for sale a couple times right here. town didn't put enough forethought into buying that, cause the land that's behind that connects to the school. Whether that building was there or not there at all, that land would be so valuable to this town, but nobody
Is
considered
that the
it.
one that they subdivided into 3 lots, or,
Yeah, they sold behind it.
No, right here.
oh,
here.
oh, right there, oh, got it, right, oh, okay,
So it's right
Yeah.
here out this door.
right,
And whether it was for parking, for here, or anything else,
yeah,
nobody gave it a thought when that was up for sale.
yeah,
It should have been given thought.
yeah.
So I think, we're strongly, as a board, we're strongly, favoring this and fully support this. And, if not for our immediate need, for the future.
And if you look around the center of town, there's not much else for land real left here to buy. If you look, there's a house and pretty much all the other frontage. We have a little bit across the street here that's owned, that, hopefully someday we can work on that as well, but there's not much other town land right here close to the center of town.
So David, this lot then is just
south of Noise,
That's right.
on, the driveway though with the red truck?
Yes,
That's
yes.
Okay,
That 100 feet where the red truck is, it'll start right after that.
good,
There's
okay.
a wall there on
South
the
of that.
noise,
Yep,
and,
100 feet and then 500 feet of frontage, got it.
goes down that next house.
I'm assuming you have to get a driveway permit from the state, would be any problems with that?
I can't see where there's 500 feet and there's no houses close. Should be no
Sometimes the
issue.
state won't allow any more access to the state highways, I just wondering, should be no
No,
problem.
they have, regulations to how close other driveways can be to each other and that, but they'll allow access for that. It's a good flat level lot to go onto.
Yeah, because this access will be between the cape on the edge of the road and the driveway further north.
That's right.
Yeah.
David, have we got other properties around town that we own that are nowhere near as buildable and useful and central that we can sell to help offset some of the cost of this more of a prime location?
Well, there are other town lands, there's lots of town lands that are tied up in different ways. Some are for the forestry department, some are gravel pits, and, then there's conservation easements. But there's several other types of land, you can't sell any town land unless it goes to a town meeting.
I understand that, but I'm thinking, this is a prime location, it's toward the center. If
A
we
lot
got
of
some
the- a lot
stuff
of the
that's
land's
not as
unusable.
good, not as
Yeah,
buildable, not as
yeah.
useful, that we bought a long time ago, get rid of it.
You know?
Turn it into tax producing property.
Yeah, that's something that could be looked at.
Can I just say that the town seldom purchases land, what it typically does is, it's a tax deed is how we acquire most of
Either way,
the
we got
lots.
them.
But
You know.
Yeah. It used to be pretty common to get tax deeds, not so common anymore. Okay, unless there's any other questions on that article, we'll move on. 16, see if the town will vote to discontinue elected office of the road agent, from which the selectmen shall hereby be provided with the authority to appoint a qualified road agent in accordance with RSA 231:62 and RSA 231:64. This appointment shall be for 1 year term pursuant to RSA 669.17-B. The currently elected road agent would continue to serve in his office until the next annual town meeting, March 2026, after which the selectmen would be empowered to appoint a person to serve in this capacity for the term, in term, if this article is approved of and by the voters at the town meeting. No amount is to come from taxation. So, we're looking at this, position of road agent coming up. Jeff has talked to us in a retirement, type format, and looking ahead in the future, and looking at the people within our town that have the amount of equipment he does to continue doing this job as an elected official within this town, and the pickings are fairly slim when you look around at, what we have left. By making this an appointed, position that the select board hire, we would hire somebody. The road agent right now is accountable to the selectmen, but he's also an elected official for 3 year terms. we're gonna make this a one-year term, so every annual year the guy comes in, we do a review with him. We check his status quo, make sure he's doing the job that we want him to for the town. And, then we'll just keep continuing him year after year from that point on, as long as he's doing the job for the town. This also allows us to have somebody from out of town come in and apply for the position. Where if they're elected, I believe they're gonna come from the town of Dunbarton.
The key thing is, we get to appoint a qualified road agent. The problem is, anyone can run for road agent. If you get enough popularity, you may have no experience at all and be elected road agent, and then where will the town be?
What is a road agent?
It takes you plowing, takes care of the roads, maintenance of the roads, paving, all that sort of stuff.
Overseas.
It's a $700,000 budget within our town, when you look into the road
Yeah,
agent.
Crosby's done it forever, and now Les does now, or Hammond, you know, or not Les Hammond, Nichols.
We've been
is out.
fortunate, Cy Audette did it, his dad did it before him, they were both 25-year people. We had a couple intern people that did it, Vandy Bogart did it, and, you know, Jeff's done it for a long, long time now. He's not looking to retire tomorrow. This suggestion, by the way, came from Jeff. He said in the future, this would be the best way for the town to go. And we think it's time to put it in place so that when it does come to his retirement, all this is done ahead of time, so we can just roll into getting somebody hired, do our interview process and get it set up.
Qualified person.
Cause you know, like Mike said, you get a popular person with no equipment, the town has very little equipment. When we're talking about equipment, the list of equipment they have, we've got a town grader that they use. We don't have any rollers, we have no dump trucks for the town other than the smaller ones. All this stuff that's brought in there with 10-wheelers is all subcontracted. So, we have very little equipment.
Yeah, Lee Martell, and how old is that grader?
Very old.
Yeah.
I think it was 25 years old when we bought it, 20 years ago.
One thing I think you'll have to mention as you're going through this, in a similar situation we do with the fire department, Jeff right now is elected official, but he's not pulling a very high salary either. So if you're gonna be hiring somebody, your salary's gonna go up, and now your bennies are gonna go up, so we need to explain this, it's free now, but once you start appointing them, the budget line item for this department's gonna go
But
up.
what I will tell you, Ron, is Jeff's an elected official with a fairly reasonable dollar amount. When he's working for the town, he charges us that dollar amount. But when he uses his equipment on all of our roads and stuff, he charges us that equipment fee.
Right.
So if you look at what Jeff gets over the years, so your rate might go up this high for the person doing the job, but the equipment, if the town has some of it, it's not gonna go up as bad. I mean, there are gonna be purchases, so it's gonna change, obviously.
Right.
But you're right, I think.
But if you hire somebody and
It's
they
gonna be
still
an
don't
increase.
have all the same equipment either, or even if they do have it, you're gonna be paying them for their equipment that they.
My
we also-
thought is that we're gonna probably rent equipment for a period of years to get us through the projects.
Right.
But I
Right
think
now,
the
we
point
have
well
some-
taken, it's gonna be, his personnel costs are gonna go up.
Yeah, cause for any construction job, we rent some of his equipment, there's also other contractors in town, we rent their equipment as well.
And you know, when we add a person to any of these departments in town, we'll do it on the second half of the year after town meeting, so your first year you get half of a wage. But
Now,
with
this-
all the benefits, even just, the new truck driver for that truck, that's gonna be $100,000 to his budget. Your new police officer, that's $100,000 to his budget. So you're right, the budgets do go up as you go through these needs, and they don't go away once they're there.
Yeah, cause I don't think Jeff is pulling bennies from the town,
No,
No,
so it's just his hourly rate plus his equipment rate. But in this case, if you're gonna be hiring somebody, you're gonna have a higher baseline salary plus bennies on top of that, so.
yeah.
There will be expenses.
Just to make a point, the office isn't changing, it's how we appoint it, we're not electing them, it's being elected by the selectmen. The job's staying the same, right?
Job's staying the
No,
same.
but the thing is, I think the gentleman, it's gonna be an increased cost for personnel, he's gonna have a different salary, benefits, and all that kinda stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hired employee, not an elected official.
Correct.
So the benefit's part of the job, and the rest of it will go up.
And Jeff hasn't always asked for a very high salary, cause like you said, we have his equipment that we lease as well. so.
And a lot will depend upon whether it's a full-time or part-time job too.
True.
So it will be a full-time job.
Yeah, more than likely. More than likely, we're looking at more than likely to be a full-time job.
But yeah, again, some of that'll be offset if he operates his equipment and charges us subcontractor rates. That's where we work out now.
So it will give us flexibility.
Yeah, so would it be a company?
Name for
Sorry.
the record. No, name for the record?
Oh, Addison Chase, 29 Guinea Road.
Thanks, Al.
So would it be a company?
No.
Or would, no, you're telling me it would be a private individual that would have all this equipment?
Not
Like
necessarily,
Browns or
not
something like
necessarily.
No, it'll be a single person,
that? Yeah, that's, okay.
whether they have the equipment and wanna do it the same way Jeff is doing it, or if they don't have the equipment, we hire them. We either gonna have to lease or rent equipment for them to use. So it'll be a change in process for
Yeah,
sure.
person and equipment are two different things.
But it could be anybody out of town, as you just said,
Yeah, or in town,
or in town.
but we would hire the best applicant for the town.
So he would work for the town?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at.
Yes,
Whether-
he would.
Yeah, cause I didn't know whether you could
Be
take,
a full-time person with full-time benefits.
yeah, okay,
Jeff doesn't take some of the benefits,
I understand that, yes.
like insurance, because his wife.
And what Ron's saying is like, we're not budgeted for that now, that's
Yeah.
gonna be an increase.
Right, yeah, yes.
The benefit portion especially.
Yeah, thank you.
The pay is covered, I think, cause whether he's charging the town for hourly pay, or it's paying his equipment.
Yeah, my
The
main
pay
point
is
was being
taken.
that this year there's no cost, but once we go to that scenario, there will now be a net incremental cost for that position.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
And you know, not going with the town of Dunbarton has gotten away with private contractors helping us with these roads for the last 80, 90 years. Private contractors coming in to plow our roads, there's no other town, you look anywhere in the state, no other town that has that situation going on. And we've only had one full-timer, and Peter's only been here,
Right.
you know, a handful of years, he hasn't been here very long either, so I mean, it's pretty incredible that the town has gone this long.
And I'm so grateful that the plowing's been, Jeff has been doing a great job maintaining the plowing, short-handed. And, you know, people complain about our town not being plowed out, and we're doing the best we can. And the thing is, and that all towns, including the state, are short-handed plow drivers.
We're short 2 drivers, we're short 8. The state's short 50, you know, it's just crazy.
Okay, question.
Oh, another question?
And Fred Mullen, going back to being elected, road agent, you could get 2 people running. One guy is very sharp, the other guy's not. We've had it before, we had a tie vote.
Right.
And we pulled a card out of our hat to see who won. The luck of the draw, we happened to have 2 good people at the time that were running. And Jeff, I'm on a committee with Jeff, and I know a lot of times he does stuff gratis for this town that doesn't charge it down.
Right.
You know. So you won't find people like that anymore. Yeah. So if you have to
For
hire
example,
somebody,
he
it's,
dug this out here in front of the town hall, I think, for free for the power
Yeah.
to go underground.
No,
We had another question, I think, too.
Lori Wamser, Concord State Road. I'm sure there's a reason for this, but if he's an employee, why would you only appoint for 1 year?
He's got, that's a great question.
Well, no,
It sounded like a contractor.
by the RSA's,
Yeah.
how we're required to do it is 1 year or 3 years, set up, or one, 2, or 3 years. And we did 1 year because we wanted to be able to review the accuracy of his job and what he's doing for the town.
So you could do 3 years after that.
Yeah, well, no,
Or no?
No, I'm
we'll,
just saying
we'll be with him
it's
every year.
Every year you have to.
Yeah, that's the default, unless the voters change it.
Okay.
The thing is, Justin and myself asked the same question, we said, we tried to strike that 1 year term, and then
We
we
just put an employee of the town, you can't
Right.
buy the RSA's too.
Right, and our legal counsel advises of that he's got protections, because he was a former elected official, and there's some protections into the RSA that protect him for employment.
Okay.
Because our employees are employment at will. We say you do something stupid and wrong, have a nice day. We can't do that with elected officials, we can't do that with
It's the road agent.
the road agent, we can't do it with the road agent, like that.
So with the road agent, by doing it in a 1 year, every year, it's not like we're gonna fire him and hire him every year. We're gonna bring him in for a review and go through that, and keep that process ongoing with him.
I'll give you one example too, the police chief he's got a contract with the town. And we review as a board, his contract and his performance for the year. And I think he's done all right this year. But the thing is, we do review it, and the thing is, and so, it's subject, I mean, if he's doing a poor job, we'll let him know.
Thank you.
Any more? Okay. Go going on to article number 17. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $31,592 to purchase the PV array lease for the last 72 months, 6 years, with a final payment due in the 73rd month, according to the agreement. This sum is to come from taxation. This is 7 cents. This is our solar array that we have down at the transfer station. This was brought 6 years ago to the voters. They agreed to do it. Our total payment at the end of the 73rd month was to be $50,000. We had $18,400 and some odd dollars worth of grants that they were able to obtain from the state of New Hampshire, is that correct?
Yes.
Against that, so that brought our payment down to $31,592, which was a great savings to the town. Now that $31,000 will make the town own those solar arrays from that point forward. Right now, we pay $815, we have been for the last 6 years, per month, as a payment to the company we were leasing those from. That payment goes away, and, all that savings will come to the town, plus the additional, revenues from that solar array.
What's the useful life of those?
20 years, in about year 18 and 18 to 20.
25 is the guaranteed warranty years
Right.
on both the panels and the microinverters.
So we might get 30 years out of them to go down.
Yeah,
Go down
there's a
a percentage,
degradation of kilowatts that is capable of generating.
But it's minimal.
Do we have to
No,
pay
I
to
don't think
dispose
it's
of them?
minimal. It can be like upwards of 20%.
Oh, I,
Beyond the 20 or 25 years.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm saying to the 25 years. They've come out year one generating, a certain amount of power, but then by the time year 10.
Why don't we let the energy committee speak on this?
So what's the question? Can you just?
How
Is
long-
it-
how-
yeah.
What's the efficiency of
Performance
the panels
degradation.
over time?
The performance degradation over time is guaranteed to be 87% of their original production value over the 25-year period. If it's below 87%, then,
So then what happens if it doesn't?
if it doesn't,
Yeah, so you're in
it's a
year
warranty
10.
claim, just like any other warranty claim.
Just so
So-
you know, we've just put in a couple warranty claims so they can come out and fix them.
Yeah.
Because that's an important thing. A lot of people are getting hosed, with solar. It sounds good, right? But then over time, they don't deliver what they say they deliver.
Well, I can tell you that this program was so good, they no longer offer it to any town.
Yeah.
So this was, we get into a really good program.
It's worth mentioning, Dave did say there's an $815 lease payment over that 6-year period of time. Essentially what that allowed us to do is there was no upfront money to the town to do that array to begin with. And so part of the agreement with the company was, we'll pay you $815 over that 6 years. That amount came to, a little bit north of $50,000, I think about $58,000 over the 6 years. So this here will bring the total cost of the array to about $90,000. We had quotes at the time to put that array in, it would have been like $200,000. So over this period of time, it's only costing us $90,000 to own it. And the other big point to make is, along with the savings and the fact that we will be able to harvest the renewable energy credits that are generated by the solar array, we'll be actually saving $12,500 a year if we purchase these. So that turns out to be a 2.5-year payback period. So this money actually returns to us in 2.5 years. If you do the math, it's a 28% return on our investment to spend
And
this
then
money.
after that, it's 100% for the town.
Yeah, I mean, then you're getting all of the production value plus all of the.
Even if it's at 87%.
You're avoiding the $815, which is somewhere in the budget lean, right, that we're paying now.
Correct.
Is that 12.5 in addition to the 1,000 a month we're saving, or is
That's
that?
correct.
It
That's
is
in
in
addition.
addition to.
Yep, the $1,000 a month that we're saving on electricity.
Yeah.
Is still in place and will be in place even after purchasing it.
And then we earn another 12.5 and we eliminate a lease payment?
No, the 12.5 is part of the,
That is.
per year includes the lease payment. The lease payment is $9,800 a
Of that,
year.
okay.
Renewable energy credits will be about $2,500 a year.
Okay.
So it's 12.5 a year in addition to any of the electricity production that they're producing. And we don't know what electricity rates will be over time. We saw a spike, about 2 years ago or so, where Eversource went to 22 cents, I think it was, per kilowatt hour. We were saving a lot of money then. It's lower now, they're down to 8.9 cents, but there's a general trend where energy prices are not likely to go down in the future.
They increase their delivery so much by going up that 18% of PUC
Delivery's out
allowed
of
to.
control.
Yeah.
So, I think they're keeping their rate down fairly low now to keep the public perception of electricity not being as bad as it was a few years back. And we think it's gonna come full circle. And that's part of the other reason we did the Dunbarton Energy plan with the town as well. We hope to get into a better buying group for the town's energy.
And one last question, we can't use that power, right? We just have to sell it back to the.
No, we are using the power.
At the transfer station?
Well, at the transfer station and all of these other buildings. So that powers this building here, town office, library, fire department, police department, all the buildings. We sized it enough, to also do the highway department, yes. We looked at all the combined bills.
Dana, I think your question is, the power that the panels are producing, do they run the transfer station because the panels are at the transfer
Yeah,
station?
it's not local power, it's sold back to the
Yeah,
grid.
you can use it anywhere.
We're
It's-
offsetting the cost.
It's, it's what they call group net metering. All of our accounts are all on the same Eversource account. So the power that's being produced there is able to be used at all these other buildings, even though the power isn't generated at these other buildings.
And the electric bills for the summer months, the transfer station building is usually zero or negative, except for the delivery, but it'll be in
Yeah.
a zero balance.
Yep.
Just two quick questions. So who's the warranty with? Is it with the installer or like, you know, cause the solvency of a lot of these firms, they're in business for a while and not, so who, you know, who is providing the warranty and what's the solvency look like for the company that installed it?
Well, the warranties are actually with the equipment manufacturers themselves. Like the microinverters is a company called Enphase.
Yeah, I know who they are, yeah.
You know what Enphase is?
Yeah, I do.
So clearly there's a potential, I guess, I mean, I don't know what their liability is if they ended up going bankrupt or something like that.
No, but it's just like anything else, if the installer goes out of the scene, then you still, your agreement is with Enphase? The
Yes,
limited-
that's correct. It's
Okay.
not, it's with it's with the hardware, not with the installer.
We just gotta make it at least 3 years and we're golden.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So we have to throw them out.
Yeah, and then last question, they're not gonna last forever, right? So did the town make any budgetary concern for the dismantling of it and the disposal of it? Because that's another issue, you know?
We're gonna set that up, so
Yeah,
years
that'll be
like
something to
you
look
can get
into.
that squared away.
Yeah, I mean, we're currently in year 5 of a 25 to 30 year life. And
we will have to give that.
and
Yeah,
you-
it's an
yeah.
issue.
So there will or could be costs down the road.
The dumpster's
for-
real close, so we don't go far.
Well, you can't throw them away. Wind turbines have the same thing. You know, 40-story, buildings essentially, and when they're done, they're done.
Right.
It's like those old satellite dishes that you used to see around town, right? Same thing.
I wonder what happened to those.
Yeah, well, those you could put in dumpsters.
Okay, anything else on Article 17? Okay, going on to number 18, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $4,340 to purchase a new skid steer mower attachment. To fund this appropriation by withdrawing $4,340 from the transfer station vehicle equipment capital reserve fund established in 2014. This mower, $0 from taxation. This mower is gonna go on the front of our skid steer. It's a skid steer attachment, can be used on any skid steer if we update it. We're mowing around that array right now once or twice a year with a DR mower. The ground is unlevel out there, and the grass, you'll see it's typically up waist high. And mowing it is becoming quite a chore. You can't just let anybody mow it. Rocks and stuff get flung around, and it can't be really done off hours, so they're looking to get this mower, the transfer station supervisor asked for it. We thought it'd be a good idea to mow around those things. more often and keep that ground better around them.
Get a goat. So you're buying a goat. You're buying a single use.
It's not cheaper.
For landscape, you can fix the landscape, so it's not rocky.
Yep, you can.
You can regrade it, you can re-landscape it, make it more manageable.
And then we'll buy a mower again.
Well, what are you mowing it with now? You said you have a mower you're using.
It's a DR mower. It's a
Yeah.
rough terrain mower. Buying it.
You know? Do we own that?
Yeah.
So continue using it, fix the landscaping in it, so you're not mowing around rocks, and then continue using it.
They
Why
put
buy a
that,
single-use device for
they put that whole
$4,500?
array in that area that was kind of unsettled and rough already.
I'm also worried with a much larger piece of equipment and a lot more powerful, you catch a rock, you just destroyed that solar panel.
They,
And people can make a mistake on a skid steer and run into it real quick.
well, only the people that are certified to run them down there run 'em.
Yeah, but something can happen, like you said, the police car engine blew up. Something can happen to those skid steers. You know,
It
I've
can
got
happen with the
excavators
DR
and
mower
stuff where
too.
the arm jammed, and, you know,
I will say the mower on the skid steer has things to protect it from blowing out, where the DR mower's wide open.
still seems like an overkill for a solution. that
Could we
be
put
less
gravel
simple.
down instead of the grass? I mean, is the grass necessary there if we have to keep dealing with it?
Yeah, fix it, put some material down, a landscape with crushed stone, if it doesn't grow grass.
Have something growing.
Problem solved.
Okay, article number 19, see if the town will vote to modify the provisions of RSA 72, :39-A for elderly exemptions from property tax in the town of Dunbarton. The last review or increase was in 2006, based on assessed value for qualified taxpayers to be as follows. For a person 65 years of age to 75 years, $106,000. For a person aged 75 to 80 years, $130,000. For a person 80 years of age and older, $235,000. To qualify, the person must have been a New Hampshire resident for at least 3 consecutive years, own the real estate individually or jointly, or if such person, spouse, owns the real estate, they must have been married to each other for at least 5 consecutive years. In addition, the taxpayer must have a net income of not more than $39,500 or married to a combined net income less than $52,000. And own net assessed not in excess of $140,000 assets. And the value of the person's residence. Yeah. So this provision is being increased because our assessment is gonna go up. Hasn't been looked at since 2006. So this will work off the new assessed values, the higher values for these people.
So these are the new numbers versus
That
the
is.
old numbers?
These are the new numbers.
Should that be gross income?
Dave?
Or is net income correct?
I think it's net. Somebody said Dave?
Yeah, Dave, are these numbers based on some recommendation by the state in terms of the elderly exemption?
It's a recommendation from our Board of Assessors.
Yeah, and that came through our assessing firm that we hire, that works for several municipalities throughout the state, and that he's, observing that many of the towns, because we're at 57%, if that elderly has an increase of 40% on their assessment, the current, adjustment that they have today will still give them a tax increase that they will probably not be able to afford to pay, and will not be able to keep their home.
This is a Band-Aid, as, thing is, if assessing values go up too high, I mean, some people are gonna be like, out of it, won't be able to afford them.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Fred.
Fred Mullen, reading Article 19, and it looks like you guys owe me money. But, down there at the bottom.
How old are you, Fred?
What's that?
I just think, how old?
Let's see his driver's license.
Yeah, I'm going way past the age,
Okay,
He makes it.
and way past the marriage time.
all right.
But down at the bottom, it says, net assets in excess of 140,000, would that include a person, say if they get stocks, bonds and everything else, that's
Oh, yeah.
included in?
That's right, right now we have one individual that qualifies under the current values.
Yeah,
And in the last 22 years, there were a total of 3, and 2 of them are
so it's
deceased.
basically 3 people in town would qualify.
Right now, it may change for some of those that are in that, you know, between 30 to 50,000 combined income that are struggling, but this is to help them. If they don't get tax money back, they get assessment deduction to make the taxes.
Fred, I look at this as a housekeeping action, because the Board of Assessors, inflation has attacked our values, the home values, and this is just keeping up with taking care of the less than
Right,
destitute people in town.
cause I wouldn't wanna see somebody lose a house because they
Right,
couldn't,
and the thing is, if we don't do that, it's gonna make it
yeah,
more apt that someone would lose their home. And this is just a Band-Aid, this is not a handout.
yeah.
So you need Dana for-
Yeah, Dana Lavoy, I do wonder if any towns have implemented kind of an auto, increase of this based on assessed values. I'm just kinda thinking outside the box here, that it would be interesting to see if there's some way to do this in the future where you wouldn't have to have a vote on it all the time, because if assessed values go from 57% to 100%, you could essentially apply the same percentage
Good
increase.
question for our assessing department.
It would be,
yes.
yeah, it would be, and if any towns have ever, implemented something like that, yeah,
They could at least ask that agent that they're working with.
yeah.
That looks like the end of that. We're gonna go through recommendations on our board for these warrants, but we have kicked these down the road 10 or so times now.
Dave, can I ask you to go over the salary of the entire?
The what? Oh, yeah. We have one further thing. Let me just get through this and then we'll go, because we see some people putting their coats on.
That's why I wanna talk.
Okay. So Lena's given us a spreadsheet here that shows our operating budget's actually 4.82. And then all of the different stuff here that we're looking at for the warrant articles. The warrant articles total up 84 cents as they are right now, if they all pass. Alright? Our budget from taxes is 4.82. The total of those two is 5.66. The total assessed value. So your increased rate on over the 2024 taxes is 1.14 cents. So $1.14. So if your house assessed value is $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000, you could take that 1.14, multiply it, and that's your town portion of the increase that would be this year, with all the warrant articles.
That doesn't include the school.
That's
Right.
correct.
Absolutely not.
I have those here if you want a copy.
Does it include the county?
It's all of everything.
That's part of it,
Yeah.
the in counties.
Yeah.
No, but the county's not by this.
Can I just?
County's separate.
County's separate.
Yeah.
Can I just speak on
State
it?
and county are always set by their,
Just for the record, in 2024, the board went before the voters for an operating budget, which was a $4.30 impact to your taxes. This budget is a 52-cent increase. The articles that they just read to you today, which are 84 cents, brings your total 2025 impact to $5.66. And when the DRA set the tax rate in 2024, the total tax rate was the total tax rate for setting the 2024 budget and the articles was $5.66. This year, we're looking at, $4.52 was last year's total budget. That's why we're saying $1.14 change, but overall, your operating budget's 52 cents, and what they're asking for the voters to vote
what's
on
114 minus
is 84 cents.
Lean, you have our town at 30 cents,
Yeah,
$30,000 times the tax rate isn't 30 cents. It's only
well,
7 cents.
what I'm saying is that last year's, just the operating budget was, between last year's operating budget and this operating budget, cause there is an increase, but we're covering a lot of that increase with our surplus,
Right, so
would
that's
be-
$30,000 is left,
is 7 cents.
7 cents, so
That's correct.
7 plus 84 cents is what we're really at.
For this 2025 year.
Okay?
Right, cause the surplus is taking care of the
That's right.
$4, $5 almost.
That's right.
Right.
But the surplus
But
is
it's-
is your money.
But it's $1.14.
Good point.
It's not, it's not $1.14, it's,
From 452 to 563?
Did last year for this year.
yeah.
So what is the real tax rate?
We're basing it on 2024's assessment.
Yep.
And if everything passes as it is here, it's gonna be $1.14 increase on the local municipal tax rate.
Very good.
And then the reval will take
Plus
place
the
this
school.
year in 2025, right?
Correct, so this
So we'll see
theoretically,
the effect of that next year.
And just so you know, we set the tax rate in October.
Right.
Once we get the rooms and meals tax.
it's
and
actually gonna
everything
affect this
else.
year, Ron.
The reval will be done by the October DRA meeting?
You got it,
Okay.
In your first year, your first half of the year will be tax rate from last year.
Correct.
based on last year,
Right.
yeah.
That was expected to go down.
The rate will go down.
Yeah, the rate, our millage, our rate per thousand. We know that we're gonna get assessed at fair market value on the home, so, you know, somebody's got a $300,000 home, it's now it's
So
$600,000.
when our assessments come up here, our tax rate should go down.
Should or will?
We're not asking for anything else. We can't spend that money, let me put it this way, without coming from the voters.
Right. We just added $25 million plus houses with this golf course development, so that'll be added to our tax base.
I believe Donna,
Yeah, and then it depends how many kids went to the school.
so the
Yeah,
assessment,
so it'll be offset with the school budget.
So,
The
if
assessment
you look at
year
the school
goes from
budget going up,
the assessment year goes from April 1st to March 30th. Donna said from April 1st to current, we've issued 12 new home permits, of which 6 of them have been issued a CO, and then we have the 7th one that just got issued last week. So the remainder of those are still under construction, so they're not at 100%, so those will continue to add additional revenue.
you know, it's always a two-sided sword when you have the new homes go up, because you're increasing that tax base coming into the town. But then when you add the children, if they have any children, and a lot of people are staying in homes a lot older, as you know, they don't leave at 18 anymore, so all of that has impacts on the town as well.
And Dana Lavoy again, you can look at studies, it always does seem good, as you say, to add residences in terms of the tax. But ultimately, it costs the town somewhere between $1.25 and $1.30 for every dollar you collect in revenue from residential property. Because of kids, impact on the fire and police and trash
I
and
wanted to
everything.
make the golf course a senior citizen.
Everything else.
That would've been great.
A 55 community would be less expensive than $1.25.
Well, typically, except grandparents are raising the kids half the time.
That was just,
They will be.
that was a little humor, that's,
I like
for the
it.
record, that's humor.
Hey, Mike?
I think
Yes.
it's a good
The
idea.
original approval for the golf course property was a senior 55 or 60 plus.
That's way back when.
And they never built. So, then we had to do it, come in
Unnecessarily
and
so when Bo put it.
Okay, let's bring it back to one meeting. Leo had a question?
Yeah, no, I got a remark here. All right, so my name's Lee Martell. I've been recording these meetings for over 10 years now. So I'm here every Thursday that we have meetings. Now we're every other week, which before was every week. But my point here is that everybody can watch these meetings on the town website. As I said earlier, you can scroll through if you don't want to hear the whole thing, because believe me, there's a lot of boring times I've spent here. I'm usually the only public here. This is one of the biggest groups I've ever seen. But also, on Thursdays of the meetings, about 5 o'clock or prior to 5, Lean posts the agenda on the town website, so you can check that out, see if there's an article you're interested in. So you don't have to look at every one. You don't have to look at every video I shoot, you can look at select the ones you want. Makes it, you can get involved that way. Because I hear a lot of people asking questions tonight, and they don't understand things, and they're really simple to understand once you know where to look or listen to what's going on.
I think that was my suggestion earlier, is that, if we move along with the times, let's push the information. Let's not wait for the residents to manage their way to the website, which I know a lot of work goes into it, but I can never find anything.
I do it front and center on that homepage.
Well, when I'm looking for something specific, it is not like the menu is difficult to follow where things are. Like, I was Googling for 2024 tax rate, 2022. Took me a while to find it. I did find it. But, let's move on with modern times. Push the information.
Yeah,
We have a community page that has a lot of engagement.
You
should mention that to the school department, who says the school board website's the worst.
Yeah, but.
Well, I don't go on that one.
Well, you
I
should,
don't care about it.
you should, that's where all our money's going.
I know.
You know,
I went to the meeting
and try to
before.
negotiate their websites. I run 2 websites myself, and it's difficult for me to navigate them, and
I
that's
usually
the
have to
school.
call them and say, hey, you forgot.
Now, one thing is that community website, that's not a town website, so
I
we're
understand.
never gonna be downloading.
Right. So my point with this is the information is there. You can.
I know, but you're relying on 2,000 residents to go find it.
No,
Where
it's
if you've
very
got-
easy. If you go on the website and click on, there's an icon that says,
But you're still relying on 2,000 people to go to the site, where all
well, you're
I'm
never gonna
saying
get
is
2,000
we
people to
can
do
push-
that.
Exactly.
That's why.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to.
Push the information.
What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to get it out as much as I can to people.
I understand, I appreciate that. Yeah.
And it's there, it is there. So,
Okay, everybody, we gotta wrap this up. I do wanna say that we are probably one of the few towns left. Every resident, every household gets one of those town reports mailed to them
Yeah. I
in
know.
advance of the meeting, to look through and go through.
Right.
Not many towns are doing that. In fact, people have brought up to me before, why go through the expense of bringing that out to everybody? But I saw, it was very, very important. Because
Well,
when
I'm
you don't
not
have.
critical of
when you're
what's
not up
being
here-
done, I'm suggesting in addition to, right? I mean, it's not that hard these days. We post when a dog barks, we post constantly as a community.
But you
And-
do understand we have to go to the town website.
Well, so maybe we promote the town, don't we have a town page beyond a website? Like, maybe we should. Just an idea.
But then we need another employee to monitor all that.
Do you really? I'll volunteer.
This stuff gets posted by volunteers.
If you don't keep up with it,
Forever.
a person will visit once, and then they'll visit twice, nothing's changed, I'm never going back there. The thing is, a website is so important, we have a website, and if it doesn't change, no one will ever go back. And so it's constantly updated with what's going on in the town, like hot topics, it's always there. The police department have a thing going on.
The calendars are.
Yeah, the calendar is
Wait a
always
second,
updated.
Mike, we just got her to volunteer.
Well, I'm just saying,
No, it's a
I mean, I'm just saying normal human behavior. I'm not here for an argument. I'm just
No,
saying
no,
human
and
behaviors. We
I
pick
agree
up
with
our
you.
phones and we're scrolling for information and it's being pushed at us constantly. And why can't we become a part of that? Why can't we push what's important to this town to people instead of relying on
You
people who
can
are
become part of it, and I wanna thank you for coming tonight, because now you're part of it, and we're all gonna get to see you on the video.
All right, well, let's come up with an idea and I'll help with that.
We got one more question before we close up here.
I gotta wind her up though.
It would be helpful if it were easier to navigate. It is a tough website to navigate.
Thank you, Linda.
And I thank you.
Now, we just updated that to make it easier for you, right? We went the other way.
That's why we gotta shove it down their throats.
A lot of people, this
Noticed that it could have
gets
just been
posted
a
on the town
one-time
website by
fluke,
volunteer.
that if
I
I
know.
go
And they
into
work all the time too.
government,
So it's when
selectmen,
they get a chance.
meetings and
I get you, I
agendas,
get
you. Me-
agendas. The meeting will be Thursday at 7:00, a copy of the agenda will be available. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. If I wanna know ahead of time, as you said earlier, you started the budget process with the employees and the elected folks back in November.
Yep.
That should be like it should be in one place. Put it, if you wanna put it on the calendar, put it on the calendar. put it on the news, but make it easy to find. Dumb it down for those of us who don't wanna go surfing through the whole site looking for something. And is there a way that it can be done on one document, and I'm not a tech person? Is there a way that our IT people who run all this stuff can have it done in real time, so that if I call on Tuesday and say, hey, I'd like to meet with the board, when whoever puts it on the agenda in their desktop, is there some way to link it so that it can be real time, so that they don't have to add it to their desktop, then add it to the
You know,
website?
Some of those things we can do, Linda, we've been pretty forgiving since I've been a selectman. If somebody comes in the same day, they'd like to be on the agenda, we allow that. You see other
I know.
towns, you're shut off way before. Okay, so like if you didn't come to us by Monday, you get put off another 2 weeks. Alright, so we've been very forgiving while I've been a select board. So yeah, our agendas do get out there later than normal. And Leo has been our hardest pusher to that, you know, he wants to see the agenda, what's gonna be on it, scheduled, and he pushes us for it. I know a lot of times we put them at the end, but we're also adding to that thing half an hour before you come into the room.
That part I get, but things like, okay, when I worked down the hall, I had to submit a date as to when I was gonna be in front of you folks with a budget. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, weeks in advance for that one. So, I mean, those are important.
Yeah.
And now, I'm just John Q. Public now, I wanna look at that.
Susie Q.
Susie Q. Public. So I wanna be able to look at your agenda and decide if I wanna, you know, come harass you guys on Thursday night.
Yeah.
So it just would be helpful if it were done more timely, and I do appreciate that we can just walk in. That is one of the most.
What I'm saying is, it's a
beauty of
two-sided
this,
sword.
yes.
When we make it so that it's on the agenda earlier, there also won't be any additions to the agenda, cause you can't have it both ways, I mean, just, it is what it is.
You could
So,
kind of
There's
update
probably,
as you
there's
go.
probably a compromise somewhere there,
Right,
right?
there-
Open items,
yeah, I mean,
Could-
we definitely try
yeah.
and do it, but you know, you can only do so much.
Does someone manage that website? Like, is there someone that we could
It's
do?
additional duty for some of the full-time employees.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say, like,
Access to it.
if we had
So
A
different
a
departments
user-
add as they go.
a user focus group that maybe, like, maybe there's minor tweaks that would make the information a little more easy to find or something, I don't know.
Find her after this every month. She's coming.
I did work in web before, so,
There you go. You did?
yes.
Sign her off. Just like just somebody makes a comment about this, or made this,
Yeah.
it's not for town business.
It could,
Read some
it
of the
could be
comments
for
on it.
there's a meeting tonight.
But read some of the comments on it.
I try not to.
Okay,
I'm not,
I'm gonna bring it back to the, I'm gonna bring it back for public comment since we did the mailbox earlier. Any other public comment?
Well done.
Thank you. We're gonna vote on the articles quick, and then we're gonna, go back and see if there's anything else the other selectmen have, and then we'll adjourn. So, the warrant articles are what we're gonna vote on. Article number 4, to have the $15,000, I'm in favor of.
Yeah, you can just wrap them all together.
Yeah. Okay,
They want to do
so,
it.
item number 4, 3-0. Item number 5 for $75,000,
Okay,
you're good?
yep.
3-0.
So I'll say who's speaking on that town meeting, or you wanna do that on the next one?
I will do that. $25,000 for the transfer station vehicle, 3-0. $13,050 put back in the fund. Item number 7, 3-0. Item number 8, the $50,000 for fire department,
Yes.
3-0. Warrant article number 9, $88,000 for new command vehicle, 3-0. Item number 10, $21,000 for the IV pump,
Yes.
3-0. Article number 11, for $20,000 for the highway
Now drop it off.
capital reserve, 3-0. Item number 12, $20,000 for the police vehicle,
Yeah, they might not be here.
3-0.
At the weekend or something.
Item number 13, $62,000 for the police cruiser, 3-0. Item number 15, $50,000 for the capital reserve fund, 14. 15,000 for land, 3-0. Item number 15, to purchase the land,
Yes.
3-0.
What year was that?
Item number 16, road agent to elected, to appointed, 3-0. Item number 17, gonna be $31,592 to purchase the solar panels,
Yes.
3-0, Mike?
Yes.
Purchase some solar panels. Okay, item number 18,
No.
4,300,
Yes.
No.
2 yes, 1 no,
I thought the comment made by the public was worth considering.
okay. Item number 19, the elderly exemptions,
Yay.
Yes.
3-0. Okay, now we're gonna go to who's gonna look at those items on the speak to them. The reevaluation,
I think I did that last year, I'll do it again.
okay, Justin. 75,000 for this particular property. You may able to do that one as well, right?
I think I'm always, back up on both of these. I'm not sure it was
Yeah,
first.
usually we have one of the board of assessors
Yeah,
that
just
goes
saying,
there.
Jacques.
Yeah, you're the
I was back up.
Jacques, it'd be Jacques.
Transfer station, I'll do that one. Dave. 13,000 back in for the fire department.
I think the fire chief do that one.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they're gonna do it.
Someone's
on
gotta be a
this one.
backup.
I'll be the backup.
M for Mike. Item number 8, $50,000 to be out of the fire department emergency vehicle fund,
I'll be the backup there.
Mike. 88,000 for the command vehicle,
I'll be the backup there too.
okay. 10, 21,000 for the IV pump,
I'd be more than happy to be a backup there.
okay. $20,000 for the highway vehicle, I'll do that one. And 20,000 for the police cruiser, I'll do that one. Justin, why don't you do the, highway vehicle for me? The top one.
14.
Alright. Because I know I'm gonna have to speak on the land ones down there. $62,000 for the police cruiser, I'll do that one.
You sure,
No, not from.
I can do that for one of the liaisons, but
Okay, well,
this police is
Hang
gonna do
on,
it.
hang on,
You
hang
got
on.
enough for the fire.
So,
We're back to Article 11.
11 is Justin,
okay,
Yeah.
that-
12 and 13 are Dave.
okay, got that, yep.
But you-
Mike, go ahead if you want to do the 13, we're gonna switch 13 to Mike.
But, chief, you'll be the primary, as fire chief, you'll be the primary.
All the department heads
Right.
will be primary.
The issue, you can call it on the call, we're not gonna stop the meeting, I'll just fill in for you.
Okay, item number 14, I'll do that one, and I'll do 15.
The thing is, I don't mind speaking that with you, as, to give support as we talk about it.
I'll have you come in.
Okay.
Okay. Road agent,
I don't mind doing that. I think we both can speak to it.
I am gonna scratch a word on the second to the last sentence. Article is approved of by, the of word needs to come out.
Gotcha.
Make sure you have a clean copy.
I saw that when I was reading it. Okay,
You want to do it?
solar array, I'll do. Dana, you're gonna do it with me.
Sure.
Okay, item number 18, $4,300, I'll speak to that since Mike voted against it. Unless, Justin, you wanna do that one?
No, yours transfer station rep, so.
But I'll be worn out by the time that land was over.
Who's doing 16 then?
Mike is doing
I'm doing 16. I'll be the principal there.
That's the road agent one.
Correct. I'm the principal.
Elderly exemption, I could do that one.
Or the assessing committee?
last year, we gotta get some work out of you. All right, and I'll take the last page. All right, that's been done. Any other comment from the public, quick? Okay, bring it back to town administrator.
I just wanna remind the board that we do have a meeting next week, we have the dedication of the town report.
Oh,
Today is a snow day, so we would normally have today off, but sorry, you guys are in next week.
okay,
I also wanted to let you know that, I've had, Irish Electric doing a lot of electrical repairs. The only thing that didn't get corrected, we fixed the highway department lights that were out in the high ceilings, replaced, outlets and covers in the town offices. We were asked to look at the cupola fixture on the bandstand, and because of the snow, she was not able to access it through the ceiling, so she said she has to get a ladder, and that has to wait until the grounds are clear of snow and firm enough so that someone can crawl up along the tile, the shingles to get to the fixture, so that's still a work in progress. Everything else been taken care of,
okay.
and that's all I have right now.
Justin, bring it back to the board.
Nothing.
Mike?
I'm great, I'm good.
And I'm good, meeting went pretty long tonight, so I'm all set. I wanna thank everybody for coming. It was an eventful meeting and I think it went well.
I thought it was gonna be an easy meeting, a short meeting.
I'm making a motion.
Last year.
Second Justin's motion to adjourn.